Hello, welcome to the stream. So today I'm going to be working on a web app framework. I've almost got it ready for release, and I'm really excited about it. I'm going to make a tutorial today and show off what the framework can do. Okay, so I just need to submit this to a couple different places, just so people know about it. So we'll say web development, building web app framework 5, make JS. Okay, cool. Submit that. And submit again. Okay, submit that. Go to Telegram, and we'll go to Slack, and we'll go to, where's the other place? Discord. Okay. So, hey guys. Doing another live stream from 11:30 to 2:30 p.m. EST. Supply. Okay. Not sure how I feel about posting it in here, because I posted in here a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm not going to post it in there. Okay, so let's close that. Let's see. Streamers, oh, this is the channel to do it in. Okay. Web development and building a web app framework live. Okay, cool. So I'll post that there. We'll close that. We'll see if anyone, yeah, I'll just post this there. Okay, cool. So we're almost all set up. We just got to share, I think, to like 2 more places. So Twitter, watch people code, work in progress chat. Yep, we did all that. So just product hunt. Okay, so let's see. Let's do Makers. Makers is a free community that anyone can join, and it's a pretty cool community because you can just kind of like post your progress, and people will like congratulate you on the progress. So it gives you like a little kind of boost because you know other people are paying attention and that they like what you're working on, which is pretty cool. Okay, making a web app framework that makes building web apps simple again. And then we'll do that. Come say hello. Okay. Making a framework that makes building, making a framework that makes building web apps simple. Let's see. Come join, or like join us. Ay. How many characters is this? Okay, let's go 96. So we need to count down on 16. Making a framework, making a web framework that makes building web apps simple. 90 characters, we need to cut off 10. 82. Making a web app, a web framework that makes building web apps fun. Okay, cool. Adonis Walker, how's it going? Are you named after the Adonis Node.js framework? Are you named after the Greek, is it Greek or Roman god? Or no, it wasn't a god, it was a person, I think. Or are you named after something else? Okay, so I posted the stream to everywhere. So now I should be able to just get started on Remake. So yesterday, I worked on this, which is kind of like a sample of like what Remake can do pretty easily. And I'm going to just show off what that looks like in the code. So we can see the home page here, and we have this config file. And so we just say like what the route is and what the title of the page is. Was given the name in high school. Okay, so you must have been like a pretty good-looking person in high school, because I think Adonis is known for being like really handsome, right? I'm pretty sure. So that's pretty cool. So it's like a nickname that you got in high school? Or is it like after you dressed up for a dance or something? Okay, so Remake.js allows you to pretty much just like create this template, and then this is an entire app. So it gives you all the functionality of like being able to edit these items, so you can like edit whatever you want. The data is saved to the user, so like to the current user, and then you can edit these, you can remove them, you can add a to-do, and yeah, and that's all done with just like a few data attributes. Hey Fabies, hey Virgo Pros, hey VNK, how are you guys doing today? What are you guys working on? How is life? Are you interested in Remake.js at all? Because that's all I'm going to be working on today. I'm going to basically be doing some like intro material and some like tutorials on it. And the main thing that I want to keep going back to is like how simple it is to create a really powerful application with Remake. And so I was just showing off that if you just have this template, so just this HTML, combined with this HTML, you can create a web app that allows you to add to-dos, remove to-dos, edit to-dos, save the to-dos, and have like data for multiple different users. And that's all with just like a few data attributes attached to some HTML, and then you've got an entire application pretty much. So I guess the first thing, so I could add like some new functionality to this, but I think the main thing that I can work on today, that I should work on today, is a full application. So it's nice that we have like a to-do list, but you're probably not creating a new to-do list app. You probably want to do something a little bit more advanced. So that being the case, let's create something that's a little bit more advanced. So our specification for this app is that it's named Blipcat because I have blipcat.com and I kind of like that name. And you can have these like progress updates of like what you did today, and then you can add like some subtasks to like each progress update and say like what you actually accomplished, and then you can check off each of those subtasks. Red Hat Ranger, how's it going? Glad to have you here. Not much. I just got started. I was just showing off that I created this application with Remake that's like a super simple to-do application. You can see here, and you can like switch users, and each user has like different data. And each to-do is editable, and you can also like remove an item by clicking on it and then clicking remove. And all of this is built into Remake.js. You just have to like do the design of the application and then do this template and this template, and that's all. And if you have this template with these data attributes and you have this template with these data attributes, you have an entire to-do application that handles data saving, data updating, adding new to-dos, adding new data, and then removing data, and all attached to a user. Now the user accounts I'm using right now aren't like real user accounts. These are like fake examples, but in the final framework, it's going to be super easy. Hey, the noob life. Did you use Tailwind CSS? So I know everyone's on about Tailwind CSS. I actually appreciate Tailwind a lot, but I am not using it here. I think Tailwind is a really, really good product, but there's a lot of other micro CSS frameworks too that are equally good. I actually use this one at work. If you guys want to check it out, it's a pretty good one too. I know it's not like the Fly framework that everyone's using in Tailwind, and I honestly think that Tailwind is better than Tachyons. But if you want like a simpler one, this is kind of like the original, what do you call it? I forget what you call like Tailwind and those kinds of like frameworks. They're not micro CSS frameworks. They're like, and they're not component. I forget what they're called. Tailwind CSS. I'm sure they say it on their homepage. A utility first? I guess it's a utility, but I don't think that's the official name. But anyways, yeah, no, I'm not using Tailwind. But if you go to remakejs.com, I actually added this like new documentation here, which should just like really clarify things. So if you go to like basic example app with annotated source code, you can see the source code that I used to create this app in Remake. And it's super simple. Like I take you through every single line. I say like on line 4, this is what that's doing. On line 5, that's what that's doing. And it's like a really, like Remake.js is probably more low level than you think it is. And it's also doing a ton of work. Like it's saving things for you. It's creating inline edit areas for you. It's like syncing data for you. It does a lot of stuff. And you can actually see like the TLDR at the bottom. Is it very hard to make a framework? Yes and no. I'd say I definitely started out with like a pretty simple idea, and then it just kind of like built on that and built on that. So like every idea has been pretty simple along the way. But I'd say in general, trying to like keep everything about it in my head, that part's a little bit complicated. So I'm gonna just like make like a quick. I kind of really like this guide, and I think I should share it a lot. So I'm gonna create like a special URL for it. So I'm gonna go to Cloudflare, which is where I host my DNS, and I'm gonna quickly just create like a new page for it. Maybe it'll be like quickstart.remakejs.com. Thank you, Red Hat Ranger. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. So if I could explain like really quick how I got started. So I had like like in a lot of web apps that I built, I had like a button that would be like what would it be? It would be like show sidebar, for example, right? And so we'd have this button called show sidebar, and when you click that, all I wanted it to do is like pop out a sidebar from the side. And there were like a ton of examples like this of like things that I wanted to do where you clicked a button and it would just show part of the page that wasn't visible before. And so that's actually how this framework started. It was a super simple library that just allowed you to tie one element to another element and just say, when you click this element, turn this other element on. And that actually transformed over time into part of the framework that's called switch.js. And you can see that at the beginning of the guide, switching things on and off. It just like lets you toggle different elements either on and off, and then you can like style them differently depending on which switch is on and which switch is off. And you can also use like multiple switches. You can like prevent them from being turned off. You can turn them off. And you can like group switches under one name. It's a pretty advanced library, but like under the hood, it's pretty simple. It's only like 120 lines of code or something, or maybe even just 100 lines. So yeah, I'm gonna go into, I think page rules is what I want. Oh, I don't know. Can I do, yeah, I think I want page rules. So let's go into page rules and let's create a page rule and let's do like this. We want like this to redirect to something. So we're gonna do like quick start .remakejs.com, and then we're gonna add a rule, and it's gonna be I think it's forwarding URL. Yeah, there we go. And we'll say it's a temporary redirect, and we're gonna just redirect it to this gist. I think that should work. Quick start. So, but should I call it quick start? So it's a basic remake app. I don't know. I think quick start's fine. So let's just save and deploy that. And then we'll go to quickstart.remakejs.com. And that's not working. Maybe it just takes a second. Okay, so we'll just like wait on that, see if I think it should be instant though. Okay, so the thing I'm gonna create right now is this app. So this is the main focus for this stream, is I wanna create this app. I'm gonna design the whole thing on the stream, and then I'm gonna add some remake.js functionality to it that makes it all work. So it's gonna be able to add progress updates, remove progress updates, add like subtasks, add items, and I'm going to do that all today in the next couple of hours. And it's going to have like different data for different users. Okay, so I guess maybe that's not working. I think I have the yeah, the name server is set to Cloudflare. So I would think this would work, because if I go to anywhere like remakejs.com, maybe I need like this to be like a star. We can try that. Hey, Ice Cream Codes, how's it going? I don't know. I'm not going to waste any more time on that. So, yeah, let's make this app. So the first thing I want to do is just close out of the existing app, and then we're going to make a new app. So let's copy and paste like the existing app. Hey, how's it going? We're just focused on Remake.js today, which is the framework I'm building. I've gotten it to a point where it's ready to be released, or at least like tested with a lot more people. So I'm building a full application that I'm calling Blipcat, and it's going to live at blipcat.com, just because I kind of like that domain name, and it's just like a fun test project. So we're going to delete the node modules folder just so that we can like reinstall everything from scratch. So it's not like pointing to the wrong repository or anything like that. Hey Zunu, hey Surly Dev, how are you guys doing? We're making a web app today using a custom framework, and we're building it from scratch, including the design. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to delete or change this package.json file, and also What is this cache folder? Is this a Git thing? I wonder if this is because I believe so. I'm storing this in Git, so I would think it would have a .git file, or folder, but it's not there. So I'm a little worried about that. I want to like delete. I mean, maybe it's cache. Maybe that's it. Let's see. .cache git. .cache folder. No. Mac. I don't really know what that is, what that folder is. I mean, it's a cache, so it should be deletable, right? But I'm just worried that I'm not deleting the right thing, because I want to delete like the GitHub information. So if we go into GitHub and then the project directory, yeah, see, it looks like it's changed. So it thinks that this is the it still thinks that this is the JS DOM so project. So we need to like remove git like reference from folder, delete the GitHub remote repository. Let's just go here. Stack Overflow is always a good idea for just like the quick answers, right? So let's just do like an LSA. Okay, so we do have a Git folder in there. So we're gonna remove the Git folder. Yeah, okay, so it looks like that's all we have to do. I wonder why it wasn't showing up in my text editor though. So this rmrf command is super scary. One time I just typed slash, it was like very late at night, and I ended up deleting like some of my applications. Luckily Adobe applications were at the beginning, and those are huge, so it actually only made it through a few Adobe applications. But I'm actually going to super focus right now. Okay, so /git, that's the one I want. Let's do it, right? Okay. Geez. Okay, just do it. It's like wicked nerve-wracking. And if you ever do this and it takes longer than like a second, definitely stop it. Just cancel it, because you're probably deleting something that's super big that you didn't mean to. Unless, of course, you're deleting something super big. Okay, so we've got the Git folder gone. So now it doesn't think it's in a repository. So I have these like little stars whenever it thinks it's like there's files changed in a repository. So now we can init like a new Git project. You almost did that once? Yeah, it's super scary, isn't it? Okay, so tell us about it. So you can do git init -y, and that's gonna like automatically create the package JSON file for you without asking any questions. Which, oh wait. Wait, what? I thought that was it. Git init -y. Git init dash. Well, what am I? I'm doing something wrong. Wait, let me just look at this. Git init bear quiet. Oh wait, no, it's npm init, right? Or no, I thought git. Oh, so, okay, yeah. So yeah, it's npm init because we're trying to create the package JSON file. Of course, that's not a git thing. Oh my goodness, I'm so stupid. And we already had one. Oh my goodness. Okay. Blah blah blah. I am an idiot. Okay, so luckily it didn't overwrite anything. Okay, so just typing too fast and almost hit the enter button. Brain was ahead of what my fingers were doing. Yeah, that's super dangerous. So now, like, now that I already did it, whenever I like type in rm-rf, I always just like take a moment. I'm just like, are you sure? And like, if it's past like 2 a.m., I'm just like not gonna do it. Yeah. Get in it as for, yeah, so I need to do that too. Um, but actually I prefer, so I use this like, I know I'm not like a real programmer because I, I use this UI for Git, but it's so much easier to just like, to do this. Um, and then you can just like have a visual place where you can like see everything. I like it a lot better. Yeah, you like using a GUI for the RM command. Yeah, I just like being able to like see everything, and then it's like it's like smart about it. You know, like you don't have to like manually add things like with like git add like dot or star or whatever, and then you can like see if you need to git ignore anything. Yeah, Git Kraken is cool. I like Git Kraken for a while, but then they started like pestering me to like upgrade or something, so I switched to something else. But I actually really like that interface. I prefer to know how to do the commands in the command line. Yeah, I think that's smart. I think if you know, so I just like read something the other day that's like if you know how to do the commands on the command line, you can automate it. And I think that's like a really smart thing for a programmer to be able to do because that's literally our job is like automating stuff. So like there's gonna come a day where you're gonna have to automate something in Git, and like you're definitely gonna be more prepared than I am because you know all the commands. Um, Whereas like I know some commands, but I mean you just saw like I don't even know like Git like the full specification of Git init. Um, but yeah, anyways, yeah, automation is definitely the thing. Okay, so we've got this new project. It's in GitHub. We're tracking the changes. Um, the first thing we want to do is do npm run dev. You're just learning how to merge upstream changes into my fork of a project I want to do a PR for, all from the command line. That's awesome. Oh, okay, I didn't install my npm packages. So we're going to do npm install. That's going to take like a million years. We're going to have to download like the entire internet in order for this to happen. So let's start. What? Oh, no, it's super fast now. Okay, because Yarn came out, npm started to compete with them, and so Yarn did the smart idea of like caching all of your packages in like some top level directory, and then like using those as like a local package manager so that you don't have to reach out to the internet every time. So we just basically just copied a bunch of packages that we already had on our computer. So even though our npm modules folder is probably still huge, we didn't have to download them all from scratch, which is great. So let's see what files changed there. So yeah, just our package lock, so that makes sense. So what did you say? I'm just learning how to merge upstream changes into my fork of a project I want to do a PR for, all from the command line. I did my first GitHub PR a week or so ago. Dude, that's awesome. Congratulations. That is like huge. I'm curious, so like I've done a couple PRs, but they've only been to like readmes. Did you actually modify code? Because I think no matter what, it's awesome. Contributing to open source is amazing. But I think, I don't know, I haven't gotten to the level where I'm like actually contributing useful code to another project, and I'd like to get there. A one-line fix, still code fix. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's like definitely a milestone. But yeah, they all they all have like special style guides and everything, so it can take a while to like learn what that style is. Yeah, you know the process. What I'm curious. Can you tell us like what project it was? Okay, so now we've got npm initialized, so we can do npm run dev, and that should run our local server. So on port 3000. So now we have a copy of our to-dos app, but we're going to change all of this around. So we're going to design this page, And we don't have any of the styles currently built out. So we have to build them all. So what I like to do first, and what? You donated $50? What? Are you serious? To me? No. Did someone just donate? I don't know, if someone just donated money to me, thank you so much. That's like, that really means a lot. I didn't know, can you do that? I don't even know if I have that enabled. I don't think someone, do I? Can someone do that through just like Twitch? I've got a better gift. Oh, okay, you didn't. You didn't donate? Okay, you didn't. Oh, okay. Is that I think I know who you are. Um are you? Do I know you? Geo Trek? Okay, so we're gonna go into um okay. I don't know what this message means. It looks like you're not saying it. It looks like you actually did something. But maybe you can like type in a special command that says like I am doing something. I don't know. I don't think you actually donated $5,000, right? That would be insane. Um, so nice to meet you. So you're checking out Boston Comment, and your wife asked me why you're watching Twitch code streaming. uh, okay, cool, awesome. Thank you for clearing that up. I was like freaking like, why would someone donate $50? Um, okay, so yeah, Boston Common. I'm like in Boston. Boston Common's awesome. Are you visiting for like vacation or something? Um, okay, so let's build this. So we're gonna make like the basic layout for it first. So let's go into templates, pages, home. We can just overwrite what we have right here because we don't really need it anymore. We do need the app layer because that's like the wrapper for the entire app. But we can create like each of these elements. You would donate bits if I ever enabled it. Okay. Ooh, turn on bits. Twitch. How do I do it? Navigate to the partner settings tab of the dashboard. Scroll down about halfway under the cheer section. Okay. Let's do it. Was it settings? Go away. Okay, let's see. Wait, what did it say? Navigate to the partner settings tab of the dashboard. You're here for a week, getting ready to go take your daughter to the science museum. That's awesome. Science museum is awesome. They used to have a computer lab there, and they had the most addictive game there. It was like this puzzle game. I know I'm such a nerd. You're like, like you're taking her to science museum. It's like exploration. It's like awesome, like exhibits. I'm just talking about the computer lab. No, but seriously, they had this super cool game that was like puzzles, and you'd get like springs, and you'd get like walls, and you'd get like chutes and ladders, and you'd have to like get this like ball to go from here to like this other area. And sometimes there would be things in the way, so you had to like slide it down a slide, like loop it up, bounce it off of like something else, and so like it was like a super complicated puzzle game, but I was totally addicted. I would I would love to just play that all the time. But also the Omni Theater is amazing. The lightning exhibit, they've had that forever. Or it's like a lightning show. It happens like every hour or half an hour. Strongly recommend that. It's like really, really cool. Um, Omni Theater, if she's not like scared of heights, and she's like old enough. But that's definitely can be like scary. But it's definitely an experience. It's like super, super cool experience. And then, yeah, that's awesome though. And the musical stairs are always a good time, but you'll end up there one way or another once you get tired of walking around the rest of the museum. Everyone just ends up at the musical stairs. Um, so if I go to the dashboard, maybe, yeah, okay, dashboard, affiliate, bits and sharing. Cheer. How do I do it? Yeah. Um, no. How do I cheer badges? Nope. Top cheers. Enable top cheers. I don't know how to enable it. I don't know. Maybe I'll do this later. I'm gonna do this in like my free time. I'm gonna like try to stay focused on building this app. Okay, so let's create like, we're just gonna have this like logo image and it's gonna be a link. So we'll just like create a link and I'm just gonna say like blipcat and then we'll close the link. And that's it. That's good for that. For now, at least. We might wrap it in a div later. Then the progress update thing, we could make it a link or we could make it a button. I guess it's probably like a little bit more accessible to make it a button. So we'll make it a button and we'll just give it like a class of button. And it's also like a large button compared to this button, although I don't know. Do I have more like padding here? There's 43 there and there's 38 there. Oh, thank you, dude. I think you just did bits, right? I think, yeah, I think so. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you, dude. Okay, so let's see. So we have this button. I think it's a little bit bigger than this, but we don't have to make it bigger. 40 and 38. Yeah, we'll just make it big. So we'll do button large. Thank you again, dude. I really appreciate that. So we'll do plus progress update, and then we'll close that button. And then that's all for that. And we're gonna have like 2 more buttons down here. Now this area needs to be like wrapped in an entire div, like this whole area, because this is like one thing right here. So let's make that, we'll like wrap this in a list, right? So we're gonna like have like a div for the list, and then we're gonna have like a div for each like progress update. So we can say like class update, we can say class progress update, but this is like gonna be the namespace for the rest of the component. So let's name it something like fairly short. Now update, I hesitate to use because it's a verb and it's kind of an action. So I'd prefer to use that like on a button or something. We could say like progress, we could say like note. Since it's going to be the main thing for this app, we could even name it something generic like box or thing or item. But those things are a little bit too generic. Progress update. Sometimes I just like searching update like tracker and just like see what did other people use for it. Tracking progress on a project. So like project is a decent word for this. Status update. Status is decent. We could just call it a post. Let's just call it a post. That's a good name for it. Because it's like fairly generic, but it also like kind of means something, and it is kind of what it is. And then it's a short word, so we can use it to namespace the rest of this component. Okay, so up here, we're gonna say, this is gonna be like called a post something. So this is like the main post text. So we can just like say post text. Now it has this background area, but I think I can do that with a with a box shadow. So we don't really need to have a separate element for that. We might decide we need it later, but I don't think we will. Then let's just put in this like sample text, and we'll just put it like all in the same line for now because it's just sample text. We don't really care about it that much. Okay, so now for the next one, we have this list of tasks. So we need another list thing here. So we're going to say like post tasks. And we're just going to make this a div. We're not going to make it like a UL with LIs. We probably should, but this is just like a sample application. We're just kind of seeing how things work. And I don't want to like restyle all the LIs right now. So we can always update it in the future. So we'll say post task, and then we'll just like add these things in there for now because it's just like sample. So we'll just add these three things. And we're going to have to rewrite this because we need these checkboxes on each line. So we're going to need to put these inside of things. So let's actually just do that right now. So we're going to put that like that. And we're going to say div class. And this is like the post, this is the tasks text. So we're going to say post and then task and then text. And then up here we have the check mark. Now you would think a check mark is just a check mark, right? So why not just use an input check mark? But this one has a custom design. So we're going to make it accessible and add a check mark, but for now we just want it to be like a regular div or a button, just something that we can style very easily, and then we can progressively enhance it with an actual check mark later. But check marks are a little bit hard to style, so let's just add like a div that we can toggle on and off for now. So we'll just do class, and we'll just close that. Since either going to have a check mark inside of it or not, I guess we can put the actual check mark in there. That can actually be an element or an icon. That's a good idea. Can we use an icon or icon font? Probably not. We're probably going to use an SVG. So we'll just put like an image tag in there, and we'll set the source equal to like images and then like checkmark .svg, and we'll just assume that's going to be an SVG for now. Let's go back up here and we'll say, so this is the post task checkmark image. So we're going to say post task checkmark image, and then let's grab this first part of it, and that's going to wrap the entire checkmark. So we have the checkmark, or no. We want to say checkbox because that's not the checkbox. And then this is the checkmark. We could just say checkmark because that'll differentiate it from the checkbox. Going to start walking to the Science Museum soon. Are you going to save this vid? Yeah, I mean, I think it's savings enabled on my Twitch stream, but it goes away after like 30 days. I think. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So yeah, you can watch it later. I might like download all the vids that I've done so far and archive them somewhere, but I haven't really thought through that yet. But have a lot of fun at the Science Museum. Definitely try to check out the computer lab if you get a chance. It was honestly my favorite thing as a kid. And then the lightning show is awesome. And they probably have like a million new things that I've never like experienced because I haven't been there in like 10 years. Or no, like 2 years. But yeah, have a great time. And thanks for the cheers, dude. Really appreciate it. Okay, so we got checkbox, we've got checkmark, we've got the the task text. Awesome. Okay, so I think that's all we need for these, right? And we're just gonna like show or hide the checkmark based on whether we've checked the checkbox or not, right? And then we have this task button. So now we're going to be able to add this button down there, and it's going to be after this list. So let's look at where this ends. Oh, did I not close some divs? Oh yeah, I didn't close these divs. Okay, so let's grab these and close them. Okay, so now we've got proper closing, and we'll add the button down here. We'll remove the large class from it because this one's not going to be a large one, and we're going to just say task down here. So this is the area for adding the task. Now we have the basic layout, right? Because like this area right here that we just created is just going to be repeated over and over again, right? So it's just repeated for the next one. It's going to have different content, but it can have the same design. So let's style, I think, what we have so far. and see how far we can get. So let's go into our CSS file. Unfortunately, we're not using Sass yet. And I think I'm okay with that. I don't know. It might be a little trouble to set up, and I don't think I'm not against just using regular CSS. So let's just use regular CSS for now. So we're going to delete the style for our old to-do app because we already have the to-do app in a different repository. And we're going to leave the login row for now. So this design is going to have a login row at the top too. Okay, now for the main thing, we have this app, right? And this has a background color of that. So let's grab this and let's say background color, and then we'll give it that color. And we're going to remove that. Well, no, we can have some minimum padding. That's fine. So we'll have some minimum padding around it, and that just means that if the content reaches the edge, there's always going to be a little room. And we want to make this mobile responsive, so probably the minimum padding we're going to have is 2 rem, and then we'll increase the padding as the size of the screen increases. Because this, for example, is more than 2 rem. If you're curious what a rem is, it's just the base font size for your document. So in a normal document, it's 16 pixels. So 1 rem is 16 pixels, 2 rem is 32 pixels. And it just helps you keep a consistent vertical rhythm on the page when you're using rems, because you want to have everything based on your font size, because a lot of content in web apps or websites in general is based on the text. A lot of content is text. That's what I meant to say. Okay, so let's give this a maximum width, and right here we have 811. What the heck? Let's copy our 811 crazy width. That's fine. And let's we already gave it the background color. Oh, we need to center it. So let's do margin 0 auto. Hey, host me raffle. How are you doing? Have you hosted any raffles lately? So now we've got this centering in the middle. Now we have this ugly looking bar along the top. Let's just make that look a little bit nicer so that it fits in with the rest of our app. And that should just take a second. So let's go into grape, because I believe that's the main color I'm using is grape. And let's make it a dark color, and then we can make the text of it a light. So we'll do the login row, a background color of that, and then each login link is going to be white. And I think we don't need to change the color on hover. Let's just do text underline, or sorry, text, what is it called? Text decoration, underline. And then by default, we're just going to turn off underlining on anchor tags. So we'll do text, not overflow, text decoration. I already forgot what it was. Okay, text decoration. So we have underline, we have color FFF, and we can actually put that up. Well, okay, so we're going to have one thing that's not colored now, which is this. I think actually that actually doesn't look bad. It's a little dark though, so let's just make the base color of this that. Okay, delete that, save that, refresh. Nope, that's not dark enough. So let's bring up our color picker. I love this color picker. It's really hard to find a good color picker. It has a pretty bad interface, but it lets you do stuff like this where you can just quickly darken a color, and I just love that. I know it's probably not exact, and it's not according to the best color theory or something, but I love it. Okay, so yeah, it just makes everything super quick when you can just darken something really quickly. Okay, so now we have login as John, Meredith, and Jamie. So let's get our logo styled. So this style is going to be a little bit hard to do, right? We have this kind of skewed rectangle, but there is this transform skew property in CSS. So I'm thinking we could just use that. However, the text inside of it isn't skewed, So we might need to prevent that from being skewed. So we might need to add like a container element and then like a couple inner elements or something. But I'm trying to think, is there any other way of doing this? I think not, because we want this drop shadow too, but I'm curious, if we skew the element, is the drop shadow going to skew along with it? Or do we need to create like two elements just to get the drop shadow? Those are all very interesting questions. Let's just play around with it. So let's create, let's have like a class, and we'll have just like logo on it. And I think we have like classes on most of the other things. So let's like grab everything that's in a class. And we'll just select to the end of the line. I just like doing this at the beginning of a style sheet, just so I have an idea of everything that needs to be styled. And we'll just delete all of the extra content that's here. So it takes like a little setting up time, but then we just have like we don't have to like copy and paste this one at a time down the road. I could probably just like select all of these. Yep, okay, and we'll just select to the end of the line. Okay, cool. And some of this is repeated, right? So we have this like post task stuff just repeated, so we can delete the repeated things, and the button thing is repeated. And then we'll just add a dot in front of all of these. And now we have a style sheet with like all the different items that we want. So we'll select that, give it a little bit more space. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so now our logo. So our logo is going to have some padding. I know it's going to have some padding because if we look at our design, it has some area around the text. And I think that's best to do with padding. So we'll say 11, 58, and 51. Let's just give it even padding on the left and the right side for now. So let's just say like 11, 58, and 14. So we'll say 11, 58, and 14 pixels. And then the most striking thing about this is the background color. So let's grab the background color, and now we need to put the text. We need to make the text white. So we'll say color FFFF, and we need to make the font size bigger. So we're going to say, I think it's like probably around 32px or something. We'll just see like what looks good. That looks pretty good. I think we might want to bold it and make it a little bit smaller. So let's go down to like, I don't know, 28px, and then we'll do font weight bold. Okay. And maybe that looks more in line with what we have. Yep. And I think the padding on the left and the right is a little big. So let's go down to like 42. I think it's just like super big right now. Although, to be fair, in our original design, it does look a little big. I'm going to jump back up to 48. Okay, so now let's try skewing it. So I think we should just look up CSS Skew. I don't think I've ever used this because I've never had a reason to. But now I do. So let's see. Skew, it does it along the I think it does it vertically and horizontally. I don't know what the abscissa is, but I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. So we just want to skew it 10 degrees. So if we do like minus 10 degrees here, yep, that's pretty much what we want. So we'll do minus 20 degrees. So let's just copy the CSS, and we'll just add it right to our logo. And since it's kind of like a visual transformation, let's add it right below the padding. I like putting things that like affect the visual look and like the positioning and stuff a lot towards the top. Okay, wait, we're not getting anything. Do we miss any styles? I don't think we missed anything. So let's look at this. Maybe skew. Oh, maybe it needs to be display block or inline block. Yeah, so that looks like it. Okay, so let's make it display inline block. Don't ask me why it needs to be inline block. I guess because like inline items aren't supposed to be able to be, they're not supposed to have like a width and a height in the same way. So I'm even surprised that it got like the top and the bottom padding. Okay, so that looks pretty good. The only thing is the text now looks italic, and I don't want that. I want to stick to the original design. And actually, it looks a little bit more skewed in the original design. So let's do that. And for some reason, our refreshing isn't working as I would expect it to. We're like getting these dead, well, no, the dead images are fine, but we're getting it like without the style sheet. I think the reason is because something's happening before something else when it shouldn't be. So we're doing the live reload. We're delaying the live reload by 1,000, and we're restarting NodeMon, and we're doing parcel right away. I don't know. The only thing I can think of, live reload is definitely enabled. Okay, so let's delay it by 2 seconds instead, and then let's try like a different skew amount. I actually like this skew amount, but just to like test the refreshing. No, it still didn't work. Connection, wait. Oh, connection refused. Okay, let's close that browser window, open it up again. Live reload is not enabled. So now let's enable it, and let's go back and change this back. Nope, it's not working, and it's saying connection refused for the main CSS file, which is weird to me. Let's go to here. Yeah, I don't know, it all looks fine. I guess we can just kind of like put up with this for now, but I really thought I had all the like live reloading and build stuff working. So this is a little bit disappointing. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Connection refused on main CSS, but then when I refresh it, it does, it's good. It gets it. Let's just look, I just want to see if I can fix this because it's going to make developing a lot easier. Okay. Huh. So it looks like maybe clearing the browser cache would work. We can try that. I hate doing this because it means I have to like relog into all my sites. I probably could just clear the browser cache for one site. But I don't know. I don't know. I actually don't know how to do that. Okay, let's refresh this. Clearing the browser cache. Oh yeah, okay, yep. It doesn't work because the way I'm doing user accounts, it's not like a real way of doing user accounts. It's just like a placeholder for now. So I need to do like that, I think. And then the page should work. Yep, okay. Yeah, I'm just doing it with like a simple cookie with a name. It's like definitely not something you would ever use in production. But error connection refused. I don't know, whatever. We're just gonna go with it. Okay, so let's go back here. We've got the skew minus 30. So now, yeah, this inner text, I wonder what happens if we just like unskew the inner text. Like if we just like reverse skew it. I wonder if we just go back to looking normal. I'm a little, I don't know, I feel like a little weird about that. I'm not sure why, but I feel like maybe, yeah, it'd probably be better to just have like 3 elements. So we'll have like the logo like container, right? And then we'll have like inside of this we'll have a span because divs aren't valid inside of anchor tags. So we'll have a span and we'll say like logo text, and then behind it we're going to have like logo background. That way, like, so the reason we need two elements is we're going to skew this element, and we can't have this text element to be inside of it. But it's going to make it a little bit harder, not really that much harder to make it responsive, because honestly we can just style the logo exactly how we've been styling it, and just absolutely position the logo background. And we don't even have to move the logo text, right? Because if we absolutely position the logo background, hey Host Me Raffle, hey Looper Duper, hey Cheeky Trooper, hey Birdie Dirk Kex, we're working on making this design a real thing, and then we're going to turn it into a real working web application with a framework that I invented. If you want to know more about the framework, go to remakejs.com. I'd strongly recommend checking out the first link on that page, which is the example application. It's right here, basic example app. It'll explain exactly what Remake.js is doing at every step. But right now we're learning a little bit about the Skew CSS property and how to make our logo look like this with just CSS. Okay, so we're going to copy this logo background area, and we're going to do position absolute. And we're going to do one of my favorite things to do with CSS, which is once we have a parent container, and that parent container has position relative, we can make any child container take up exactly the width and height of that element. So it can basically layer right on top of that element and expand to the same width and height. And all we have to do with that is position absolute. We set left to 0 just to make sure it's aligned left, top to 0. I don't think these are strictly necessary because I think that's kind of what it defaults to, but I've seen like some behavior where maybe it doesn't. So we'll just set those just to make sure, and then we'll do width 100% and height 100%. And now we have this element that just layers directly on top of the logo. And since this is the thing that's going to have the background color and the skew, let's just take those properties from the logo and put them on the background. The padding we need because the logo text is inside of it, and so the logo needs to expand around that to a certain width and height. So the padding is going to help with that. And then also the color, we can just have it on the top level logo element, as well as the font size, so it'll just affect everything below it. It's really only going to affect the logo text, but if we ever added like another element in here, it would just automatically apply to that too. Now, the issue here that we have is that now that the background is position absolute, it has like a natural higher z-index. I don't even know if that's strictly true, but it has like a higher priority in the DOM. So it's going to be displayed above the logo text, even though the logo text is, if we look in the HTML, defined after the background. So in order to get around that, we need to have our logo text have like a, sorry about that, have like a certain like special style that's going to take it out of the ordinary flow of the document. And so I think we can just do position relative. And so that's not going to change the position of it because position relative allows you to change the position and shift it. But you don't have to. You can just say position relative and that'll just take the element out of the normal flow of the document. So now we have it above that. And the reason it's above that is because it's defined after, right? So if it was defined before it, the background would still be above it because it's positioned absolutely, so it's gonna be in front of it because it has the same width and the height as the logo. So let's just see what that looks like real quick. We'll save that. See, it just went above it. Okay, so let's undo that so that we have the logo text in front of it. And now we have a logo that's looking a lot closer to what we have here. Now I think we might still want this to be a little bit less wide and a little bit taller. So let's work on the padding just a tiny bit, just to get it exact. You know, I mean, it's nice to have it looking, you know, kind of close as we can to the design that we have. Oh, and let's decrease this. So let's make it like 44. Let's refresh this. that looks kind of closer, I think. Maybe it needs like a tiny extra padding on the top, so let's add 14. And now, if you'll notice in the original design, we have a slight drop shadow on this. So let's get that drop shadow. So we have 2x and 2 on the y-axis, so 2 pixels on each axis, and we have this black color at 28% opacity. So in order to do that, and the nice thing about using black with like an opacity is it's going to look like the color that's underneath it, right? So this looks like a dark green even though it's black because it's see-through. So it's just nice to use that because if we ever decided to change the color of this, everything else is just going to adapt, right? The drop shadow is going to adapt because it's just transparent. Okay, so we said 28 pixels and it's 2px, 2px. So let's give that to our text. So again, we can just put this text style on the logo parent just so that all the text inside of it is being affected. We could also put it on the logo text. It doesn't really matter in this example. So we'll say text shadow, and we're going to give it 2px, 2px, and then 0. 0 is the blur. And then the color is going to be RGBA, and we're going to do 0, 0, 0, 0. Again, so this is my favorite text shadow, as I just mentioned. I just told you guys why. And then we're going to do 0.28, and I believe that should work. Sometimes things look a little bit different in Sketch than they do in real life. Yeah, so like this is an example. Let's see, let's go to 100%. So yeah, so this text, is this italic? It is, it's bold italic. Okay, so we do want to make it italic. So let's do that. Let's do font style. I think it's font style. And then I never know if it's italic or italics, but I guess it's italic. Okay, so now we've got that. Now the only thing, this shadow looks a little bit more like oomph, you know? It has a little bit more oomph than like this one does. So we could just give it like an extra pixel. Hey, Grana and Sequoia, how are you guys doing? I'm working on styling this page, and then after we style it, we're going to use Remake.js, a custom framework that I built, in order to make it work. And so that's our goal for today, is to get this progress update tracker with subtasks, being able to add and remove tasks, check them off, add new tasks, add new progress updates, edit the progress updates, and save everything to your user account data. And we're going to do that all within the next couple hours. But the first thing is styling it. The other part, I'm hoping, should be pretty easy because I built Remake.js in order to ideally be super easy. It's supposed to be like super easy, pretty powerful, but not like the most powerful framework. Like if you want to build like a super advanced web application, you probably use like React or Vue.js. But if you want to build something relatively simple, then you just use Remake. And I like building a lot of very simple web apps. So the problem with this is this looks like a little bit too far away. So we're actually going to move it back to the 2px. And let's just experiment real quick with like a 1 pixel blur, just to see if that adds kind of what we're looking for. That kind of looks less sharp. I mean, that's obviously what blur does. So yeah, let's just move it back to the 2 pixel, 2 pixel. I guess we could use like 2.5 pixel, but I think that's not going to work on some screens. So we'll just leave it like that. Now let's give a drop shadow to our our skewed box, and let's see if that box shadow is also skewed. Now I think that should work. I think it should just skew the the drop shadow, but I've never actually done it before, so I'm not sure. Okay, so let's go here and see what that looks like. Now this we need an exact color for. We can't just use like an opaque black because the background is actually purple. So we need to use this exact color. Hey FreddyBot, hey V&K, I think you were here all along, and hey Virgo Pros, how's it doing? How's it doing? Yeah, that's a good that's a good thing. How's it doing? Okay, so we're gonna say box shadow. And then we're going to say the color, and we're going to say, what's the distance? Let's see, 2px and 4px. So we'll do 2px for the x-axis and 4px for the y-axis. And I think that, oh no, then it's the blur. So the blur is going to be 0 again. Okay, let's save that and see what that looks like. Okay, so that's unfortunate. So the drop shadow is definitely not skewed. So let's search like CSS Skew box shadow. I just want to see, like, I mean, I'm sure other people have complained about this. So I just want to see, like, is there an easy solution that other people have come up with? You could use pseudo elements instead of creating empty div for styling purposes only. So yeah, he just creates this. Yeah, so it looks like that's probably what we're gonna have to do. Skewed shadow. Yeah, so the before and after pseudo elements go, I believe, inside of the element. The before one goes at the beginning of the element and the after goes at the end of the element. So I'm curious about how that would work here with the logo, or the logo background, right? Yeah, I think we can, well, let me see. I'm just trying to think about like how this is working. So if the before element is inside of this element, then it's going to be on top of it. So that's going to need to have the regular background color, right? And then the, oh wait, no, shoot. Guys, I didn't put the box shadow on the background, so I didn't even test the right thing. I put it on the logo, which is not skewed. Okay, let's test it again. Hopefully this just works. Woo, it worked. Okay, and it's a little off over here. It doesn't feel the same as this, right? This seems more even. So let's just push it over. So yeah, gladly that works. I was thinking that should work, but yeah, I was surprised when it didn't. Okay, great. So this looks exactly how we want it. Now I think it'd be kind of cool. So yeah, that's a big hassle we don't have to go through. Man, I was just about to get into like before and after pseudo elements, which I never like using because it always makes it harder to debug later because you're like inspecting the code and then you have to like open the element and like click on the before element. And like sometimes you don't remember that it was defined there, so you're like checking all these other elements and you're like, where is this shadow defined? Okay, I am talking a lot today. Okay, so let's make like this turn like a slightly lighter color when we hover over it. So let's go back to the logo background. Let's grab this background color. Let's go to open color and search for it. And we just want like a few shades lighter. Open color, by the way, is this excellent color library that you can use in your own projects, and it just gives you like a set of colors that are all very similar and all very pretty looking, so you can have like different shades of the same color very easily. Okay, so we're gonna have logo and then hover, so we'll say logo. You know, it's actually kind of like nostalgic and nice writing regular CSS instead of Sass. I actually kind of like it. Okay, so we got logo, hover, and then we actually want to have this affect the logo background. So we're going to have when the logo is hovered, then the logo background is going to change its background color to this. So let's see if that works. And by the way, even though this is defined before this background color is going to overwrite this background color because this selector is double nested. And so since it is double nested, it has more like points or something in like the CSS specification. You know, things that are more deeply nested by more than one selector, they overwrite things that are just defined under like one selector. But there's all kinds of like fancy rules about it. If you want to learn about it, it's a little bit hard to figure out sometimes. Okay, so that looks nice, right? It's just like a shade lighter. It just kind of looks like it's lighting up a little bit. I mean, this isn't like a professional application that we're gonna like make $1 million on. So this is like totally fine, I think, for now. Okay, so that's good for that, I think. And now we want to do the button. So the question is, how do we get the button to be spaced below this logo, right? Because we can make it like display block or display inline block. We'll probably make it display inline block so that it's easier to like have its width and height be automatic with like padding. But how do we get the position of this to be below the position of that? We could just add some I like adding margin bottom instead of margin top, so that you just have like one property to look at for all of the like spacing styles. It's always just margin bottom. But so we could put that on the logo, and we could put that on the logo directly. But what I kind of like having is like some CSS like utility styles. So I think I'm going to add like a couple of those at the top of here. And we're going to just say like margin bottom, like 1. But I like having in between ones too. Let's have like margin bottom and then like dash dash. And then I've been using like 0.5 to like denote that it's like a half. But we could just say margin bottom. No, half isn't good. So I want like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? For like all these utility styles. And then I want to have like ones that are in between. So like I want to have like a 0.5, a 1.5, a 2.5. I guess we could just name it that, right? That's not like the worst thing in the world. So let's do that. And we'll just say 1, oh wait, no, 0.5. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So see how now we have 0.5, and then 1, and then 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, all the way up to 4. And then we can just say margin bottom, and we'll just say like 0.5 rem. And then here we'll replace that with 1. Here we've got 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. And this should just like make it a lot easier to just like space our page. And we could just like, I don't know, attach this, like I was saying, to the elements directly, but it's kind of just nice to just be able to style the page with these utilities. Okay, so now we've got this margin on the bottom of this, but the button is next to it. And the button is next to it because by default, buttons are display inline. So, and then I think also, well, and our logo is inline block. I don't know. I think that's why it's happening. So I think if we make our button display inline block by default, I think that might help, although no, it's not going to help. Because it's still going to be treated the same. It's still going to be next to each other. So we need to have some way of pushing it down. If I'm being honest, I don't really know the best way of doing this. I think, so we have like 2 inline edit. Let me just sit down because it's hard to stand up and code for so long. So we have this these like 2 inline block elements, and they're right next to each other, and we want one to be below the other one. We could just add like a spacer, but I don't really like that idea. I don't know. Let's search like CSS and then like move inline block below another element. I don't know. Well, depending on the actual final application, using a float can work. Yeah, so we could use a float and then like clear it with the other element, and we could just use float instead of inline block, but I really don't like float. Float just like causes all kinds of other issues. I mean, it's not like I'm not going to use it if it's like the right opportunity, but I would prefer not to use it. So one thing we can do, I think, that's very easy, is just to add a div around the logo or the button. And that's like a super easy solution. I think that's the right solution too. Like it just kind of feels good to me. So we're going to do div class, and then we're going to put the margin bottom 4 on this div, and we'll delete it from the logo. Because it doesn't really matter that it's on the logo. If it's next to another inline block element, it's not going to affect it. But now this div is going to take up all of the horizontal space, and it's going to push anything below it down. So now I think this should work. Yep, okay. So now we've got this. Now we need to style our buttons. So buttons are a tiny bit hard because you can see they have this default style. So what I like to do is search for like CSS reset button. And then there's like a lot of stuff that comes up. CSS tricks is usually like my go-to. And I think usually like towards, yeah, it looks like, okay, normalize has one. Huh, they actually don't just give you the answer. Okay, here it is. Here's the thing we want. So let's just do this, and I guess we can just like paste this at the top, and that should just like reset all of our buttons. I don't care about this transition. Why are you gonna mess with the transition? Jeez, right? The background, ugh, I hate that. It's just like if you're gonna have a button reset, like just give me a button reset, you know? And you're gonna give me a background color built in. That's crazy too. Yeah, I don't like this CSS tricks article. Let's just go to the first link. This just looks like a very simple gist. Okay, so let's copy these styles, and we can delete that, and we'll just put this under button. So this will reset all of our button styles so that we can style them however we want. And it looks like there's a few notes down here. Someone's like text line inherit. I don't care about that. Outline none. No, outline's good for accessibility, I think. And then he's got this thing, Moz focus inner, border and padding. I guess we can add that. Because we want everything to look the same on different browsers. And we can like delete these comments, because I don't know, they kind of seemed a little obvious. And actually one of these things reminded me to add font smoothing. So let's just like search for font smoothing CSS and go to the first link, and this says it's non-standard. That's fine, I'm okay with that. And we will say, nope, okay, that's not the right thing. Can you just give me the CSS, please? Okay, so we're gonna just say this. Oh wait, grayscale, what? I recommend reading this post, but in this post I'll give you the CSS properties and values you need to know. Boom, okay, got it. Okay, so this should make our like font look a little bit nicer on on OS X and WebKit. Okay, so if we do that, yeah, see, I think it looks like a little sharper, a little nicer. Maybe not much. And our button is reset, right? All the styles are reset on it. Okay, so now that we have the button styles reset, now we're going to need to add like some padding to it, and we're also going to need to add the skew. So all of our buttons on this page are skewed, so we can just add this select to the main button class, all these styles, but we're going to need to use the same strategy that we used for the logo. Now, if I was working on like a real application, I might think about unifying these styles somehow because we have like multiple skewed elements. So I might have like a skewed class, but maybe not, probably not. I probably wouldn't even do that in a real application. Because these are such different things, their styles might diverge over time. So you kind of want to keep the styles as separate as possible. But I don't know, a skewed helper wouldn't be bad, you know? Okay, so we have the button text and the button background, and we have the button, and we're going to have to edit all of our buttons. Hey Surly Dev, welcome back, or welcome, you're already here. I don't know which one. I don't know which one it was, but glad to have you on the stream. Okay, and we're going to have these two spans in here, and we're going to put a class on each of them. One's going to be button text, and the other one's going to be button background. Okay, so now we've got that style, those styles, and we're going to use the same thing from the logo. So let's just copy all of these styles. I don't even care. Let's just put all those in there, and then we can even do like the hover thing. So we'll do that, but we'll just replace logo with button. And then for the logo background, we'll just paste, or the button background, we'll just paste that in. And then for the logo text, we have position relative. And that's so that it appears above the background, like before, remember? Okay, so let's save that and just see how it looks. It's gonna look weird and horrible, but it's just nice to see like some update to our style. Boom, now we have buttons. Perfect, it's awesome, isn't it? Now buttons, I guess they don't have a cursor pointer by default, so let's just add that too to our default button, because I think buttons are always clickable. There's not a case where I would not want a button to be clickable. And I'm not overwriting the cursor property here, so I don't know why it's not getting a cursor pointer, but let's just add that in and refresh. Okay, perfect. We're done with the whole design, right? This looks this looks amazing. Okay, so we've kind of got like some basic styles, right? But we still need to switch things up a lot. So we have this button class. We're definitely gonna like cut down on the top and the bottom. Let's see what it is in Sketch. Sometimes it looks different in Sketch than it is in real life, but let's just go with Sketch for now. So it looks like 9px, and then maybe like 32, and then 11. So we'll say 9px, 32, and 11. So 9, 32, and 11px. And we have, oh, we have two, two display inline blocks there. We don't really need that. Position, relative display inline block. We've got the padding. We've got the text shadow of the text set to a black that is a little transparent, which is perfect because we are using a different color now. Font style set to italic, color set to white. Font size is 28px. That's definitely too big. Let's set it down to like 17px. Just see what that looks like. The font weight we can leave bold. We can even wait, font style italic. So this one's not italic. I don't know why I didn't make these ones italic, but okay, sure. We won't have it be italic. And then for the button background, we're gonna have this color. So let's go in here, grab that color. We'll paste that in there. And then we have, or wait, no, sorry. That's this one. And then for the hover color, let's search through open color, and we'll search for this color. I guess we don't have an exact match on this color. Is that true? So let's see what it is. Oh, wait, 623. So this doesn't look like grape. This is violet. Oops. I thought we were doing grape. That's unfortunate. So I'll have to change the other ones to violet. Violet definitely sounds better than grape, doesn't it? Okay, so 623. I don't know where I got this from. So the problem with open color is it's like an open source color library, like I was telling you guys, it's like a package. And it changes sometimes. So sometimes the colors change. So I think that might have been what happened here. So let's just add this like new color, I guess. Maybe it changed, maybe it didn't. And then the box shadow is going to be a much lighter version of this violet. So let's just add this and see what it looks like, and we can just play around with it from there. So we'll add that, and then for the hover style, we're just going to use one shade lighter than the background color, or no, these look too similar, so we're going to use 2 shades lighter. Um, so now we've got the button background there. And let's refresh the page. Boom. That kind of looks like the button that we have. It's a little bit too wide, I'd say. So let's make the padding maybe like 28 pixels. We can always go down to like 24 pixels. But no, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. And the the shadow, I think, is the right amount. Yeah, the like box shadow, it kind of looks good. So now we have these like custom button looking things. That's kind of nice. Okay, now let's change our like violet colors. So that, like, first of all, the background of the page, the background of the app area, we want to make a violet instead of grape. And then also the top area, this row. So let's see. Let's make it maybe, we could make it the same color as the button, I guess. So we'll do that, and then we're gonna darken this color. So Adam Orr, how are you doing? We're styling a page right now, and then we're gonna make it work with Remake.js, a custom framework that I'm making. And we are about, I'd say, like maybe a quarter or a third of the way through styling it. I think we're farther than it seems. It's always hard getting started up, but these things are a lot. These things are like very similar to each other. We can reuse a lot of these items. Like this button is going to be reused a lot. So we're like getting there. I'd say we're like maybe even halfway. Okay, so this color doesn't look dark enough, so we're going to make it a couple shades darker and see what that looks like. Yeah, okay, so now we've got the login. And let's give it like a bigger padding bottom. So we'll do like 0.5 rem, like repeat it over and over again. But then for the bottom one, which is this one, we'll just give it 0.6, just so it has like a little bit more on the bottom. Okay, that looks better. That has a little bit more room. Okay, so now we have the logo, we have the button, but we want to align this button to the right. So again, we're probably going to have to wrap this in a div, and we can give that, we could give it like a class of like button wrapper, but since the only point of it is to align the text, what I would prefer to do is just like add another helper up here. So we'll say like text align, and then we'll just say like right, and then we'll say text align right. And so this is kind of like in the style of something like Tailwind CSS or like another CSS utility library, but we're just kind of like building it up ourselves from scratch. We could use Tailwind instead, of course. However, that would require learning Tailwind, and I don't know Tailwind yet, so we're going to have to wait on that a little bit. Now, the nice thing about wrapping this in a box too is that we can give it a margin bottom, whereas the button, you can't see anything. Is it just my computer or is it all black? Oh no. Okay, I am streaming. It looks like I'm not dropping too many frames. 11%. That's not great, but I guess it's okay. And then let's go to the stream, twitch.com/Panfora. Oh man, I have to watch. I have to watch an ad, guys. Okay, come on. Oh my goodness. Jeez, these ads are long, huh? Um, Come on, ad. Okay, no, it's not a black screen for me. It looks fine. You're seeing a black screen? You might want to like Google search like Twitch black screen or something. I'm sorry that that's happening. Is it not happening for other like streams? So we attach the like same margin bottom. Whew. We attach the same margin bottom class to this so that it has some margin bottom there too. I think that's about right, but I think since these are more closely related, we might want to decrease the margin bottom to like something like 2. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, that looks a lot better. And we also want some more padding, I think, around this like main area. So let's go up to our app in the CSS. And we'll do like 6 rem for the main padding. And on smaller screens, we can change the padding so that it's less. And then also on the body, we're going to add a background color so that it's like pretty dark in the background. And again, we're going to use open color to get like a dark color that's not quite black. And yeah, that looks pretty nice. Okay, cool. So now we've got the logo, we've got the button's aligned to the right. The next thing we want to do is add this area. Luckily, I didn't skew this area, so it should be a lot easier to build than the other ones. We're not going to need like these inner containers and outer containers and stuff like that. Okay, so for this one, we have a, we have a post class. So first of all, we're going to give it some padding. Drix Q, what's up? How's it going? We are working on a web app. We're building a web app from scratch using a custom framework. The first thing we're working on, though, is the CSS. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to answer it if I can. If you're curious about the documentation for the framework, you can go to remakejs.com. I strongly recommend checking out the example app. That is the first link in the README. It'll explain a lot of what Remake.js does. Okay, so we're going to add some padding to this post. And let's see, it's like 13px, and then we'll just say like 24px and 18. So 13, 24, and 18. And then it's also going to have a background color. And that background is going to be set to a violet that's pretty light. So let's go down to violet. And I think this one looks pretty good. We might even want to make it lighter, but for now that's okay. And then the color is going to be like a very dark color. So let's actually use the same color that we're using in the login row. Because it's good to be consistent. So we'll just say color, and then we'll use that same color. And then we'll refresh. So that kind of looks good, except I forgot. This is the post text. The post is going to wrap everything. So we only want this to be the post text. Okay, so now the next thing is we definitely want font weight to be bold, I think. And then we want font size to be a little larger than it is. And by default, in the browser, it's 16 pixels. I think we want to up this to like at least 19 pixels. Let's see what it is here. It's 17 here in Sketch. Let's see what it looks like. That doesn't look bad. But let's maybe move it down to 17 pixels. That might be a little bit better. Okay. So I think that kind of looks okay. Obviously, we don't have this drop shadow yet, so let's add that. Maybe that'll help improve the look of this. So we're going to do box shadow, and let's see how far away this is from the other one. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it looks like 9. 9 or 10. Solvin, how's it going? How are you doing today? What are you working on? Are you feeling better? So box shadow, we're going to do like minus 9px, minus 9px, 0 for the blur, and then we're going to do like a fairly dark color that's going to be the same as the button. No more migraine, and you spent the morning pair programming. That sounds excellent. I love pair programming. I think it is super fun. Like, really, I did pair programming at work, and uh, they didn't really let us do it that often, which I think is like a sign of a bad work environment, honestly. But it was super fun every time we did it. I really loved it. Okay, so now we have this box shadow that's negative that's going over there. Yeah, especially on mind-numbing tasks. Yeah, they should. You know, I heard, I'm pretty sure this is true. If you're working on like banking software or like something that needs to be super secure, there's actually a law. There's a law. I'm pretty sure this is true. Don't don't like quote me on this, but I think there's a law that you have to do pair programming, and it's just so that like if one person's tired or one person doesn't can't spot a bug, at least there's a second person like making sure that they're looking out for the customer and like doing everything by the book. I'm pretty sure that's true. I don't know. I read that somewhere and I was like, what? Pair programming is enforced in some situations? That's awesome. Um, okay, so this seems a little bit wider than our design uh, here. Um, yeah. Okay, you're gonna make me look it up. Pair programming, uh, banking law. Da, 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 da. Pair programming required by law. Um, I don't know. Maybe not. I thought I saw it somewhere. I really did. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, I will stop spreading that rumor until I confirm it's true. Okay. Uh, that's awesome though that you did some pair programming. That sounds really fun. Did you do it on your side project? Your like fan site? That'd be cool. Um, oh yeah, that might be it. There, so the same dev cannot put a security thing online if they wrote the code. That would make a lot of sense. Um, okay, so um, strong guideline. We need some margin bottom on this. Uh, so let's use our like margin helper. So for the post text, we're gonna just do like margin bottom 2, and uh, that looks a little bit better. I also want the padding of this post text to be a little bit better. Um, oh, nice. Yeah, if you use transactions, you're going to use Stripe, so the PCI compliance isn't going to be on your end. Yeah, I think that's one of like the major selling points of Stripe, definitely. So let's add 16 pixels. We'll say 18 pixels. On the sides, it looks okay. Just on the top, it looks like it doesn't have enough padding. Um, so this is, yeah, it's kind of the tutorial of the day. So the idea is that I've gotten Remake.js to the point where I can make a real application. Um, and so I'm trying to make this application where you can post new progress updates and add tasks and check off the tasks. And I'm trying to do it all within like the next hour and a half. Um, so it might be hard to pull that all off. So, but first I'm just designing it, and then I'm going to show how easy it is to add, or hopefully I'm going to show how easy it is to add Remake.js to it to make it all functional. So yeah, it's the tutorial of the day, but it's a really long one because it's like the main focus of my day, and I'm tutoring a friend of mine at the end of the day on Remake.js because he's like curious about it, and he wanted me to give a tutorial to him. So I'm really excited about that. So I'm kind of preparing for that too. Okay, um, so this area, that kind of looks okay. I think the progress update button needs to be a little bit, have a little bit more room. So let's add like a margin bottom of 3 there. Ooh, the auto refresh worked. That's awesome. It's like worked for once. And we need line height on this post text because see how it seems like really close together? That's not ideal. And also the color here that we're using is a little bit too dark for me. So I'm gonna actually paste that into our color picker, which it was already there, and I'm gonna lighten it just a tiny bit, maybe just 1. Okay, so let's save that, and then the line height thing, we can fix that too. So let's go into the post text, and we're going to say line height, and we're going to say 1.4 is like one of my favorites, but 1.5 works a little bit better for like larger text, I'd say. Yeah, see how it gives it like a lot of that space? I would even say like 4 might be a little bit better, because this feels, maybe it's a little bit too much space. Nah, 5 is fine. I'm good with 5. We could use 4.5. It's another one of my favorites. 1.4, 1.45, and 1.5 are where line height is at, in my opinion. Okay, so we've got the button, we've got the logo, we've got this progress update thing. It's looking pretty slick so far, isn't it? Now the thing is, I did change this text color, and I like it better here, but then up here, it looks a little bit too light, doesn't it? But whatever, we're not going to worry about it, right? We're not that worried about it. Okay. So the next thing that we want to do is probably add these checkmark icons. That would be a cool thing to do. So this is really simple in Sketch. We just select this shape right here that we imported from the noun project as an icon. We're going to say make exportable, and then we're going to switch it to SVG. And the nice thing about Sketch is that everything is a vector. So you can export anything as an SVG, which is amazing. So we're going to just say check mark, and then we're going to go into GitHub. We're going to go into blipcat, which is the name of this project, which I think is just awesome. And then we're going to say images. We're going to go into there, and we're going to save our SVG. And then everything should just work magically, right? What? How did that work? I am a genius, or I don't know. Not really. No, it's just... That was super simple. We just referred to it as in the images folder to checkmark. I can't believe I just called myself a genius. That is a misuse of that word. But, you know, if I think I'm a total idiot when I mess up my build process, then I should probably think I'm a total genius when I get an image to load. That's probably fair, right? Okay, so let's add a background color to this checkbox so that it looks like this. And again, we want to use a light color. We probably want to use the same background color as this progress update, right? So we'll just grab that from the text background color, and we're going to just set that like that. Now this doesn't have a width or a height right now, so let's just give it like a manual width and height. We can maybe change that later, but no, I mean, I think a manual width and height is fine actually for this. So we'll give it like a width and a height of 20 pixels and 20 pixels. And that settles that. Now we want the checkmark icon to definitely be bigger. So let's give all of our images by default, we're just going to give them a width of 100%. And I think you give them a max width of 100% too. I think that's how you do it, how you make them responsive. Okay, so now it's responsive, it's expanding to the container. Now we have a couple problems here. One is that the checkbox here does not look skewed. It is not skewed, but the background is skewed. So the checkbox is skewed, but the checkmark isn't. So now we have the same problem that we did before, where we're probably going to need an extra element in order to create the skewed effect. So we're going to say div class, and then we'll say post task checkbox, and I think that's fine for that container, for that area, because we're going to just say checkbox container on the top level one. So we have checkbox container, then we have the checkbox, right? That's going to be the skewed square, and then we have the check mark ahead of that. So let's copy that, and we'll select what we have for the old version and just paste the new version over that. Okay, so now we have the checkbox container. Container. And then we have the checkbox, and then we have the check mark. And the checkbox is the thing we're going to skew. So let's, hey, Kay Grubel, how are you doing? What are you working on? What's your passion? What do you like doing? Are you a web developer? All those questions. Shoot, give us something to talk about. Okay, so for the checkbox container, we need to have the same styles that we're using up here for the button. So I don't know. I kind of feel a little bit weird about just copying all of these into a checkbox because they're not going to have a lot of the same styles. But whatever. We'll just go with it for now. And then the background, we'll do the same thing, which is going to be equal to the checkbox. And then the check mark we don't need to worry about. And then this is going to be position relative, if I remember. Okay, so now we're going to delete a bunch of this stuff. So the checkbox container, it can be display block by default because we're giving it, oh wait, no. Checkbox container, so that's going to be wrapping around this. So we actually do probably want that to be inline block. We don't need it to have padding. We don't need it to have text shadow. We don't need it to have a color, we don't need it to have a font size, and we don't need to have a font weight. So yeah, we didn't really add very much by copying and pasting those styles. Now we have position absolute, which I want to go towards the top of this class because it affects the styles more than anything else. So I like having it near the top. We're going to give it left and top of 0 and 0. And I guess we'll give the container the width and the height. So we'll put those on that, and then the checkbox could be 100%, 100%, so that it kind of copies the width and the height of the parent container. And these two things are like my favorite thing. Like you combine this element that has a position absolute, a left and a top of 0, and a width and a height of 100%, and then you have a parent container that's position relative, and then this child will copy that parent's container width and height and be positioned exactly on top of it. Gives you a lot of flexibility when you have that power. So the next thing is the background color, which I think we want this one, right? I forget which color. Yeah, this one looks like the light color. So let's delete that. We're going to skew it. I think 30 degrees might be too much, but let's leave it on for now, and we'll delete that. So let's see how this looks. I'm sure it's going to look nothing like what we want it to, but boom, it kind of looks kind of similar to what we want it to look like. 30 degrees might be a little much, so let's decrease that skew to maybe something like 24 degrees. So let's go back here. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. And let's add to the width. So because we're skewing it, it looks a little thinner than it actually is or something. So let's add like 4 pixels to that width and see what that does. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. And then the check mark that's inside of it, oh yeah, it's not going to have, yeah. So yeah, we want that to be position relative because the checkbox itself doesn't have any text. So yeah, this is the equivalent of what we're doing with the button, where we're giving that position relative so that it appears above it. So now we have the check mark going above it. Now the one stylistic thing that I like about this design is that the check mark goes like above and outside of the inner check box. So in order to achieve that, it looks like we're actually going to need to make the checkbox not as wide. So let's decrease it back to 20, I guess. That's unfortunate. And then let's just make the check mark bigger. So in order to make the check mark bigger, I think we can just say, I think we can give it an absolute width. And I don't know if that's going to make it not scale. So let's just check. I think it's not going to scale. So if we just give it like a width of 100 pixels, oh, I think it's obeying the max width, right? So if we take off that max width, wait, what? What's happening? Position relative. Oh, it does have a max width on it anyways. Okay, no, it is. Okay, so it's scaling. I guess maybe images, SVG images will just scale. I don't know. Maybe that's just a Chrome thing. I don't know. But we'll just trust it for now. So we're gonna add. Let's see. 26px I think is a good number for this. So let's give it a width of 26px. And we're going to say the max width is, what is a valid max width? Like, what is the starting max width? That's what we're curious about. So we're going to say initial, so we can just say none. Okay. Yeah, sometimes it's none, sometimes it's other things. Okay, so now we kind of have the style we're looking for where the check mark is going outside. But if you look at the original design, see how it appears like a little bit above the bottom? I want that too. So let's position, it's already positioned relative, so we can just say top, and then we're going to just do like minus 2px. And if we do that, now we have it going up a little bit. So that's nice, right? That kind of looks like the design that we have right now. Now, if we check out this checkbox container, this is display inline block. So you can see that it's leaving room on the right for another item. And we can see that the item next to it is this task text, which we want to be next to the checkbox. However, this task text is display block, because divs by default are display block. And blocks will display on their own line. So in order to get them to display next to each other, we have to either float them or display inline block them both. But I think if I do display inline block, this isn't even going to work, because I think it has, or wait, no, it might. It does work. So it does work, but I think if the text is long enough, which we want to be able to give it unlimited text, it's going to flow to the next line. And that's because the inline block makes it expand as much as its content requires up to the maximum width it can take up. So when that happens, then it's going to flow to the next line. So we need to use something a little bit more robust for putting these next to each other. We could use float, and then maybe like give the task text max width or something. But the easiest way is just to use flexbox. So let's use flex, display flex on the post task parent element, and that'll make these just appear next to each other, which is what flex is really good at doing. So let's go up to the task and then just put display flex, and that should solve all of our problems. Boom. Okay, and then the task text, we're just going to give it a little bit margin on the left. So we'll just say like 0.5 rem, so that's 8 pixels. And that'll just give us a little space on the left. And it looks like it needs even more. So we'll give it 1 rem on the left. Okay, awesome. Now for each task, it needs a little margin on the bottom. So we could add that with our margin helper. That's probably the best way. Or maybe not the best way, but like it's a good way. So we'll just select all of these, and we'll do margin bottom 2 with our little margin helper. And that's a little bit too far away from me, so let's do 1 instead. And that looks kind of similar to our design. I think in our design, it's a little bit more. So let's use our 0.5 helper. So we'll say 1.5 and refresh, and boom, that looks good. So if we needed like to do it more exact, we could just like add the margin to the element, but this looks good enough, so I think we'll just use our helper for this. Okay, now we definitely want these to look clickable. So on the task, we're gonna sorry about that. I just made a really weird noise. We're gonna say cursor pointer, and now it's gonna have a cursor pointer. And then the other thing is we want to make the checkbox like really look extra clickable. So on the container, we're gonna say like when this container is hovered, we're gonna style the check mark. So we're going to put the check mark after that. And we're going to just, an easy way to kind of do a hover style is just to use like opacity. And we can just use like opacity 0.75, and that's just going to make it look lighter. So now if we hover it, now that looks hoverable, or at least more hoverable than it did. It's not like great. I would almost rather use like a different color, like when you hover it or something. Yeah, I'm not sure. 0.75 might be a little bit too much. Let's do like 0.8, and then let's also do something to the checkbox itself. So let's make the checkbox a different color. I'm not sure exactly what color to make it. I don't know. Maybe I'll just change the color of the check mark, huh? That would just be hard because we'd have to like add a different image for that, and that just seems like a big hassle. Hey, Cyrection, how are you doing? What are you working on? What do you like doing? What are you learning about web development? What are you interested in learning? You can answer any of those questions, or you can answer none of those questions. Either way is fine. Okay, so maybe we'll make it like red. I don't know. I just want to make it look clickable. I don't know. Yellow? Let's try yellow. It's probably going to look horrible. Let's go background color. Yellow. Okay. Yeah. As expected. It looks pretty bad. Okay, so what would look good here? I mean, maybe like red for when you're unchecking it and then green for when you're checking it. I don't even know. But yeah, yellow definitely looks bad. I don't know. I guess we don't really have to do very much. Let's just use like the violet color that we're already using and just make it like a few shades darker. That's usually the safest route, is just like use the same color you're using, keep the design pretty monochrome. But it's also like definitely the least like creative way to do it, and it's going to make your design suffer a little bit if it's like looks too monochrome. That looks fine. That looks clickable. I think we don't want to use the opacity in this case because it makes it look too like washed out. Yeah. So yeah, this looks fine. That looks like it's it's clickable. Okay. So the next thing is we want to move these check marks over a little bit. So the tasks can have like a margin left. And we're not going to use helpers for like margin left, margin right, or margin top, because we're not using them nearly as often as margin bottom for like because margin bottom's used for the vertical spacing all the time. So margin left, we're going to just say like 2 rem. I think 2 rem is usually like a good number to use. Yeah, and that looks pretty good. And then for the post text, it looks like this margin bottom can actually be a little bit bigger. So let's see, post, where's my post text? Okay, here it is. Oh, wait, post text. Oh yeah, I only have one right now. Okay, so we'll go to 2.5. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so now we've got the logo, we've got the button, we've got this little login area up here, we've got the post text, we've got these check boxes, we've got these items, um, and they all look clickable. Yeah, I think that's fine. Um, let's replace these items so that they look like real things. And also for the post task, we're going to say whether it's complete or not. So we'll have this alternate style that marks it as complete, and we're going to just copy the design as it is. So the first two are going to be complete, the last one isn't. So we'll say post task complete, and the last one isn't, so it doesn't get that class. And then here, we're going to do post task complete. And for this one, all we have to do is say this check mark is going to be display display. Is it inline? I think images are inline. Are they inline block by default? Let's see. So let's inspect this image, go to the computed, see the display. Oh, it's display inline by default. I knew that. I'm an expert. I totally knew that. I did not know that. Okay, so we're going to do display inline, and then by default, we'll just say the check mark is display none. So that'll hide it by default, but then if it has this complete class on it, then it'll be displayed. Boom, done. Okay, so now this all looks clickable. These check marks look clickable. This looks editable. And now we have this plus task button. So for the plus task button, we have the button class on it, which is weird, because if we have the button class on it, oh, it doesn't have the button background or the button text inside of it. So that's why it's not getting the styles. So let's add those classes to it, and then it's going to look just like the other button, and we're going to have to change things up a little bit. Hey, whoever just joined, we're doing a tutorial on Remake.js. If you go to remake.js.com, you can see the documentation. I just added a sample application there. Right now we're just building out the styles for this application. It allows you to add progress updates for every day as well as subtasks. After we get the styles done, which we're almost done with, we're going to make it work using Remake.js, which is a framework that I built and should make it super easy to build a web framework, or at least that's its goal. Okay, so we'll have class and then button background, and then this will be class button text. Now when we add these classes, it's going to make it look like the other button, purple, right? But this button is a different button. So this button is going to be red. Now, do we add a special style to it that says it's red or that it's important, or like how are we going to name this? We could even just name it as like add task, as the add task button. I kind of like that. It's pretty specific. If we want to generalize it later, we can. But for now, we can just say, yeah, this is the add task button. And something I often forget to do when I add a new class is to add it to the HTML. So let's just make sure we do that to start. Okay, so now this is going to have all of the alternate styles. So the background is the first thing we want to change. So we'll say add task button background, and we're going to just overwrite the background color with a red. So let's go to open color and grab like a good looking red from there, and we'll just put that in there. And then for the box shadow, we're going to have a different color for that. So it's going to be a pretty light color. Let's go with that and see what it looks like. Actually, maybe a little bit darker. And we'll see what that looks like. Is there anything else we want to change? We do have this button large property here. So I think what we want to do is actually grab this button style that we have here, because we've actually like put all of the button large styles in here, but the only thing that's determining whether it's large or not is the padding. So let's just copy this padding and put it in the button large space, and then we're going to just decrease this padding for every other type of button. So we'll give it like 2 pixels less padding on the top and the bottom, and then maybe like 4 pixels less padding on the left and the right. And then make sure that we add that button large class to the other button on the page, which we already did. So we didn't realize, or I didn't realize that we did that, but we already did it. Okay, and then we've got the button background different, and it shouldn't be large anymore, and the text should be white, and I think that's the only thing. So let's go and see what that looks like. Nice. Oh wait, the hover color. So the hover color is a little bit is going to be a little bit different. So let's copy this and let's say hover, and then background color, it's going to be just a lighter red. So I think we used this one, so maybe we'll try that one. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. We can always go back. Okay, so we'll save that, refresh. It's not working. I think it's not working, yeah, because these are at the same, what do you call it? Like they're at the same level, right? So like this is a class with a hover, this is a class with a hover, and then they're both affecting the button background. So this one is overwriting this one. So in order to get around that, we can just add all of our add class button styles below the rest of the styles. This would be a little bit easier to organize if we were using Sass, but that's fine for now. Okay, now we've got this button. It's got the hover style. Sorry about that. Wow, I should have taken my mic off. Sorry about that. Okay, so we need a little margin bottom after these post tasks. So let's say margin bottom 2. Can you not do that? I'd prefer no advertising in this channel, thanks. Jeez. Okay, how do I ban someone? Jeez. What? Sorry about that, guys. It looks like we just got a little spam in the channel, in the chat. Do you guys know how to like report this? I don't know how to report this. You shouldn't just like spam people's channel. That's really bad spam. No, that's not okay, dude. Ay, ay, ay. Jeez, where's the report form? Locating the report tool. To report a broadcaster, to report a broadcaster, to report a user in chat. Okay. Man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Oh, here we go. Hmm. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. It looks like there was a little spam. What the heck? How are you posting still? Oh my god. Great. Nice. Okay. Whew. Hmm. Maybe that worked. Okay. I think that might have worked. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, that was fun. Okay, so we've got this, hopefully that won't be a problem anymore. Okay, so we've got this page. Let's add a little bit like more padding to the top and the bottom of these buttons. Um, and yeah, I think mostly a little extra padding to the bottom. So let's say like 10px, and we'll go to the button large, we'll go to 12px for that. And then for the smaller button, I think like both the top and the bottom. So like we'll go 8 and 11. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, that looks a little bit better. That looks a little bit better. And let's lighten up this task button. So let's use this red instead. So we'll go down to the task, and we're going to add that, I think, as the default background. Okay, so we've got that. Now we need to move it over um, so that it's in line um, with the tasks. Okay, we're almost ready to start adding remake.js to this and making this a real web app. We're very, very close. Okay, so we've got this button, we've got the button task, and we're gonna just say, I guess we'll just like style it manually, saying like margin left and then like 3 rem. Um, yeah, that doesn't line up exactly. So maybe like 3.5 would be better. Um, maybe in like 3.75. Okay, let's try this. That kind of looks like the original design. I mean, it's not like super super well aligned or anything. Um, let's see. I think maybe if we use like an exact uh, measurement, it might be better, and then I can position it exactly how I want it to be. So 48 pixels. Try 54 pixels. We'll try 60 pixels. Is it not? Is it just not moving? I feel like it is moving. Yeah. Okay, that looks good. 64, I think, is what we want. Yeah, I should have just opened it up in the console to start with. Okay, that's fine. And then we've got that, we've got that, we've got that. Let's see how multiple tasks look now, or multiple posts. So we've got this post, and we're gonna copy it and paste it. And then we should have more than one post. Okay, so yeah, these are overlapping because the things that are overlapping are actually the drop shadows. So we just need to add some margin bottom to each post. So we'll just do like class post, and we'll just do margin bottom dash dash like 4, because that's our maximum margin bottom. Looks like we might need a little bit extra just to differentiate them as different items. So let's add like a margin bottom up to 6 for that. So we'll grab this, and that'll be up to 5, that'll be up to 6. Okay, so we'll say 4.5, 5, 5.5, and 6, and then we just need the rems to copy that. So that's going to be 5.5, that's going to be 5, and that's going to be 4.5. Okay, and then, oh yeah, and then we need to add the margin bottom 6. So now if we do that, it should look exactly like our design. It looks pretty good. I think the add progress button could even be a little bit higher. Like it could have like a little bit more margin on the bottom. Let's try that. Yeah, that looks better. And then I think the logo can actually be further up. We could even do the full 6. Yeah, that looks good. I mean, it doesn't look great. Like, this isn't like the prettiest design I've ever made. But it's kind of experimental. But I think it's kind of fun, you know? I don't know, I kind of like it. And let's make this area not as big, this like top area. So that's going to be the padding that's on the, I thought it was on the body, but no, it's on the app. So let's go down to app, and we got padding 6 rem. So let's do like 3 rem, and then we'll do 6 rem, 6 rem, 6 rem. 3 was too small, so we'll do 4. That's fine. So this kind of looks like a real app. This is like something like someone could use, I guess. Let's make this text area look clickable. So we'll just add like a cursor pointer to it. So we'll go down to post text, and at the bottom we'll just say cursor pointer. And I don't know if we're going to add any, I guess we could add a hover style to it. It kind of would make sense because it is editable. And yeah, I also want to know what happens if this text is really long, because I want to support that. Yep, okay, it looks good. The only thing is we need to give it a line height. So let's give it a line height for the task text. Yeah, that looks better. Except now it's not aligned with the checkbox. So I think what we could do, there's like a couple things we could do, but I think the best thing to do is just to go up to the task itself and just add a line height to that. And usually that helps. but I guess it didn't help in this situation. So we'll just go back, add it to the task text, and then we're going to just position relative this, I guess, just as a quick fix. And we'll just do top like minus 3px and see what that looks like. Yeah, so that looks like it kind of aligned it in line with the checkbox. Another thing we could do is probably like flexbox, use flexbox to align it. I think you can align it on, so like use like the text line height or something, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Okay, so this looks clickable. Let's make it look a tiny bit, or sorry, yeah, let's make it look a tiny bit more clickable. So maybe we'll just use like a lighter violet, and that'll be on the post text when it's hovered. So we'll just say background color, and then that color. Now let's see what that looks like. Didn't change because, am I using the same color? No, I'm not using the same color. Okay, there we go. So now it looks much lighter. That's actually not what I want. So let's see, what am I using? I'm using this style right now for the background. So maybe if I make it just a little darker. So let's try that, see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks good. So that looks kind of like it's editable. I mean, it doesn't look great, don't get me wrong. It doesn't look great, but it'll be good enough. Maybe slightly lighter, just a little bit. So we'll just like decrease the saturation by like 3 points and then paste that in and try that. Yeah, I think that looks slightly better. It still doesn't look like professional. This doesn't look like a professional app, but it didn't really look like a professional app anyways. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is maybe make these tasks the same color as the post text. So let's just say like color is that, and then we also want to make them look like more clickable. So in order to do that, we could underline them when you hover over them, or we could give them a background color. I kind of like the idea of giving them a background color, like a hover color. Or we can make them like italic or bold. I don't really like that because making them like bold can like make them go to the next line, and that can look very unprofessional. We could just make them lighter. That's also always an option. Let's see what that looks like. So we could just say opacity is 0.75 when you hover. So we'll save that. Oh, and this is on the entire task, which is not something that we want. We want it to be on the post task text. So we'll move this style down to here. Okay. Refresh. Yeah, this doesn't look great. It doesn't look like it's actually editable. So one thing we can do, like it's very subtle. It's like a very subtle difference. So let's actually increase the like font size or font weight here. And we'll just make it 500 so it's a little bit thicker. So that, yeah, that looks good. And then I think we just want to make it have a slightly different color. So let's make it like blue, I guess. I don't know. I don't know about this. I don't know about switching the color. It feels like it's going to look tacky, but we can try it. It doesn't look that bad. And it does look like clickable. Like, it does look editable. Maybe also like a text decoration of underline. We can try that, see what it looks like. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of looks like it's going to go somewhere, like it's a link. It definitely looks like a link. Let's look at text decoration CSS, because I think we can use a a dashed underline. Yeah, so we have underline dotted, underline red, green, wavy underline. That's kind of fun. Let's do that. Let's do like this wavy underline. And let's see what the browser support looks like. Looks like it might be supported. This looks way too crazy, right? Oh, and it got cut off here. I don't know. Oh, yeah, okay, it's a little buggy. I don't know why it's buggy, but let's not use it. So, let's use maybe dashed, and we'll do it like a very so dashed. So dash, and we'll do it like a very light version of this color. So let's paste, or no. Let's do it like a lighter purple. I think that's really where it's at. So we'll do like a lighter violet for the color. And then the underline, maybe we'll make like really light. I think that'll look nice. So I mean, not like perfect, but it'll look nice. Okay. I don't think we really got, did we get this? Yeah, maybe we did get it. I don't know, it doesn't look great with the dashed. Let's try just like underline, like a regular underline. Yeah, that looks fine, whatever. It kind of looks like a link. I don't know, I'm kind of okay with it. So we'll just leave it. Okay, so now we've got the basic style for this. So now we just have to add remake. So this is the exciting part. Is anyone is anyone interested in learning about how to turn this into a Remake.js app? I mean, either way, I'm going to turn it into a Remake.js app. I'm just curious if anyone is actually curious about this. Yeah, this looks pretty cool. Okay, so let's start working on the remake version of this. Let's first of all, hey Mighty Meowth. So Remake.js is a framework that I created for making web applications really, really easy to build. Like super fast, really easy, really simple. It's like the opposite of React or Vue.js, where like those are like for full teams who are building like super big applications. No, I think Flask is on the back end. This is like a front end framework that's meant for server rendered apps. So you like have a server rendered app, and then Remake.js is going to help you handle like the data saving, the data manipulation, the like deleting data, everything. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty simple, pretty easy to use. If you go to remakejs.com, you can see all of the documentation. And I actually recently added some new documentation in this basic example app gist, and you can see like how to create an app. It's like this file, this template, and this template, and that's all you need in order to get adding to-dos, removing to-dos, editing to-dos, all with saving data to like actual users. And I explain like line by line what each data attribute does. And Remake.js works entirely with data attributes. So you don't even have to code anything. You just add data attributes, and it's going to be able to like save the page for you, or serialize all the data on the page for you, or even like render templates and add them into the page. So if you're curious about what it's doing, you can check out that basic example app, and then you can see also a quick reference of all the attributes in the framework right here. So you just go to this gist, and this will give you an overview of the entire framework. When I say data attributes, do I mean parameters for functions? So data attributes are custom attributes that you can attach to an HTML element, and they're like namespaced under the like data dash attribute. So you can see an example here, like data dash. So it's like a class attribute or an ID attribute, but it's a custom one. So you add data dash, and then you can define your own custom ones. And Remake uses a bunch of data attributes to do special things with the data on the page, like help you serialize it or help you edit it. Like this single attribute right here allows you to create an inline edit area for anything on the page. So yeah, if you want to look at the like quick reference or you want to look at the example app, it'll explain what everything does. This quick reference is pretty much a thorough overview of the entire framework if you want to get an idea of how to use it. But if you have any questions or feedback or ideas, I would love to hear them. There's also a website that's in development at site.remakejs.com, and this is going to be the final documentation site, but it's not working yet. You can't go to like the different pages, but this is how it's going to look. It even has its own cool little logo and everything. And also a public roadmap at this Trello board. Okay, so let's make this work with Remake.js. The first thing we're going to do is just commit what we have so far, because we've added a lot of styles. So we're going to just say blipcat fully styled. Exclamation point, and we'll commit that and just make sure I didn't commit anything weird. No, okay, that's good. Okay, so let's make this work with Remake.js. So the first thing to do is let's like add some data to the page, I guess. We can make all of our data that's on the page serializable, which just means we can easily extract it from the page by adding these data attributes. So we're going to say data_type, and this is going to define an array. So this is saying everything, all the elements that have data on them that are below this element are going to be wrapped in an array. That's all that attribute is saying. So it's just going to say parse this as a list. And actually, we have a console command that we can use right now called get data from root node. And we can call that on our app. Oops, we need to do document. We'll just do query selector. So we get data from root node, and that's going to give us all of the data. Yeah, so the problem is that at the app level, we're defining it as an object, so that's good. So now we just need to give this list a key, because otherwise it's not going to know how to fit into the object. So we'll give that a key by saying data_key, and then we'll just give it a name. So we'll just say these are posts or progress updates. I think I'd prefer calling them what they are, so we'll just say progress updates. And then if we serialize the data on this page, we should get an object with a key called progress updates, and that's set to an empty array. Okay, boom. So we got this object, and it's set to an empty array. Now let's add some data to that array. And by the way, setting all of this up so that so that Remake.js can parse it is going to enable auto-saving. So whenever you edit data on the page, whenever you edit anything on the page that is part of the Remake data, it's going to get auto-saved to the backend. So this is like the basis for how Remake works. So let's make this a data attribute. So we're going to say, first of all, we're going to say it's an object. So yeah, actually, so one of the rules or one of the like best practices for Remake is we want to add the data as high as possible. So let's add it on this on this post component. So we'll say data o type, and we're going to call this an object. So this is going to be parsed as an object. And again, if we go into the DOM and we get the data, now we have progress update key with an array and then an empty object in it. And that's because this is a type of object. Now we're going to attach some data to this object. And we're going to just fill in some like filler data for now. So we're going to say this is data o key. So the data o key says that this is going to be a key on the object, and then we're going to add the key name after that first part. So we'll say text. So this is the progress update text, and let's just paste this text in there for now. This is not what it's going to end up being in the final version, but just for now, just so that we understand how this is working and how we can parse it. Let's do that, and now we have the key of progress update equal to the array of progress updates. And then in there we have text with the exact text that we pasted in here. Okay, I actually have to use the restroom real quick, so I'm going to be right back. I'll be back within like 2 minutes. Hey guys, I'm back. Okay. So, where did we leave off? We were just starting to integrate Remake.js into our page. And so we added a few data attributes that allowed us to serialize the DOM. And that means that we can just turn this page into a giant nested object that has all of its data. And we experimented with that by adding some data attributes, one right here, two right here, and then two right here. and that allows us to export the entire page as an object that has an array of progress updates, and each progress update has some text. I'm turning serialized data into a hash map, yes. And in, in JavaScript, it's called an object instead of a hash map, for anyone who didn't know that. Yep, key value pair, exactly. Yep, exactly. Um, so, so now we've got the progress updates with the first progress update having a key of text and a value of the text that we want this progress update to have. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is create a watch attribute. So we're going to delete this text inside of here for now, and we're going to fill in this text with this data attributes text. But it's not going to work quite yet. But we're going to say data w key, and W stands for watch, so we're going to say watch key, and we're going to watch the key text. And so this, whenever this changes, this is going to update. So we're going to say, what do we want to do when this key changes? And we're going to say, we want to just call this. We want to call inner text. We want to set the inner text of this element. Now, this isn't going to work out of the box. If we just do this, it's not going to render. That's because we don't actually fire any JavaScript on the page. Like we don't do any templating. Remake.js doesn't do any templating. So your application should work, it should render without JavaScript. And so that means that like you're not going to have to do any setup. It's going to work for SEO. If you have like a part of the page that isn't going to be editable, it's going to be read-only, then you don't even have to load Remake.js. So that's the benefit of this, of not calling this. Now you could, now with Remake.js, it does give you a function that would let you call this watch function when the page loads, but that's not how it's meant to work. If you wanted to do that though, you could. Okay. So now we've got this, and so whenever this key is edited by the user, this is going to update the inner text. So I think at this point, what we want to do is add like a data object for our current user, and our current user is John. So we're going to add a data object that roughly corresponds to the data that we expect from this. And again, this isn't what we would normally do, but as we go on, we'll see like, you know, how we would normally do it. But this is how we would normally like, you know, bootstrap an application when we're first getting started, so that's fine. So we have the progress updates, and then we have an object, and for the text, we're just going to paste in this text that we have here. And so now this data should be passed into here. And now we just want to loop over the data. So let me actually quickly open up this other application because I haven't worked with nunchucks a lot. So I just need like a quick reminder of what a for loop looks like in nunchucks. So we have it right here. So we're going to loop over each of these progress updates. So we're going to say progress update in data dash progress updates. And we can indent this all like that. Wait, that's our progress update. Okay, there we go. So we'll indent that all like that, and then we're going to end the for each down here. I'm a little bit nervous about this part, because if this part works, that's awesome. We've like kind of got the beginning of an application working. But if it doesn't work, it might take a little second to debug it. So we're including a partial in this other application, but we're not going to go to that level quite yet. So then for each progress update, we're going to just set this key equal to, I think, just the progress update.text. Let me just make sure. Yeah, okay. So in nunchucks, again, we just use this templating. So we're going to say double curly braces, then progress update.text. Now let's see if this works. And we have to actually look on the element, I guess. And we have the text. So we have the text and the key. So we've successfully bootstrapped our application. Now you might be wondering, well, okay, that looks good. Like it's in the key, it's in the data key, so you can like serialize it or whatever. But how is it going to display inside of the inside of this element, right? Well, the answer is Remake.js isn't actually opposed to you just duplicating a little bit, just a little bit. So we're just going to put the progress update text inside of the inner text too. Now they're in sync. So now the data that's on this element, as well as the inner text, is the same. It's exactly the same. And you might be wondering, well, why did we have it on the data attribute then? Well, the reason we have it on the data attribute is because that's the data we're going to send to the backend. And the way we're going to keep it in sync is that every time the data attribute changes, right, by editing it with an inline edit area, we're going to call the function inside of this watch key, and that's going to set the inner text. So this is going to keep it in sync, right? This watch method that you pass inner text. And by the way, you can pass any DOM element property into here, and it'll set that property for this current element. And it's going to watch any keys that are above it in the DOM. So any keys that match output key, that's an ancestor. Okay, so now we have the data in sync. Now let's get to editing the data. So this is actually a new thing that I just added that is a pretty fun attribute. So we're going to say data I editable, and we're going to say equal to, and now we're just going to say the key that we want to edit. So here we want to edit the key of text. So we're going to say text, and then we're going to say what type of key it is. Like, what is the data? How do we want to edit it? With what type of field? So this is a text, and we could say single line, and that's going to give us an input box that's just a single line, or we could say multi-line. And since this text is multi-line, we're going to just use multi-line there. So this is all we need for getting this inline edit area set up. You can see it looks a little smallish. So let's actually make it a little bit bigger. It should adapt, in the final version of the framework, it should adapt to the size of the content, but I don't have that quite worked out yet, obviously. So let's just give it a minimum height of 72 pixels for now. That's not working. I'm not sure why that's not working. That kind of sucks, because I thought this part of it was already kind of worked out. Remake edit text area, min height. Oh, is it not picking up the change to this? Maybe there's an error in the compilation. No, it looks fine. I don't know why it's not. Oh, maybe it's, no. Let's see. Let's go into this file. Hey, JPO Martins. So yeah, we have this remake edit text area, and it has a min height of 48 pixels. And that's what's there. Oops. Okay, so I know what it is. It's because I opened up this separate project, and I was editing the text in there. I was editing the CSS in there instead of editing it in our new project. Okay, so let's just expand the size of the text area for now. Give it, what? Why isn't working? Okay, text area, min height 72 px. So I think it's getting auto-sized. I'm using like a library to auto-size the text area. So I don't know, this is kind of an underlying framework thing, and I didn't mean to show this on stream. But we're going to just fix this issue right now. So we're going to actually go into the template. So sorry, not into the template, into the framework. So we'll go into remake.js. We're going to input. We'll go into editable attribute. And there's one thing that I think should be working here that's not. So when I click this, this text area should be expanding to the full width of the underlying element. That's something that should be happening that's not happening, and I don't know why. Remake edit container. So I think it's because, yeah, remake edit container doesn't have a width of 100%. So let's check the min width, and let's just set the width to 100%. Okay, so now it should expand. What the heck is going on? I'm in blipcat. I set the edit container. This width is 619, and the edit container has min width, and it's not. Oh wait, am I still? I'm still in the old project with the CSS file. I can't believe that. Okay, so let's go into. I'll answer that question in a second. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, geez, I just wasn't editing in the right spot. Okay, so now it's gonna expand. We spelled recuperate wrong, so let's correct the spelling of that inside of our data. So why am I not using TypeScript? I'm not using TypeScript because I'm old, basically. I've been developing web applications for like 10 to 12 years, more like 12 years, 10 years. We'll say 10 years. And I just got used to just programming in regular JavaScript, so TypeScript feels like a completely different language to me. So that's why I'm not using TypeScript. If I was working on a larger project with a larger team, I would not be opposed to using TypeScript. I've heard it's great and that it helps prevent a lot of errors. But when I'm just hacking on my own thing, I'm kind of okay with just doing it the regular way that I'm used to, and not like having to set up all the tooling around TypeScript and deal with like random issues about other packages not supporting TypeScript, and then you have to like modify your package to, work with them or whatever. It seems a little bit like a little bit of a hassle, and so I don't know. I'm not like opposed to it. It seems like a cool idea, but yeah, I just haven't used it yet. Okay, so and also just like our industry moves like so fast, and there's so many different new tools. I'm not just gonna like hop on the like latest bandwagon. Like I think TypeScript has gotten beyond that point where like it's probably going to become a industry standard within the next couple of years. But I prefer not to be like one of those early like people to test it out and like go through all of the like shifts in direction around it, which I'm sure there have been, like with any new technology. It's like getting like a first generation like iPhone or MacBook before they fix all the bugs. Okay, so we've got the width working on this. I'm pretty happy with that. The only thing is the the text area isn't expanding to fit in the content that it has. And the way I'm initializing the text areas is with auto size. And so I think the reason it's not working is because I switch on the like inline edit area, and then and I do that after I auto size them. So I think if I just put the auto size down here after it's switched on, I think it's gonna auto size it now. So this is just a simple mistake that I made, I think, when I was setting up the framework. Nope, still doesn't work. I guess what we could do is just do like a set timeout. Sometimes that works, you know, like if there's a thing that you know, is asynchronous that's happening, and so that hasn't finished setting up, so that the you know, element hasn't rendered yet. Sometimes it's good to just wrap that in a set timeout. Yeah, okay, now it's working. Now it's not the best solution, not my proudest moment, but I think it's fine for now. Yeah, that's fine for now. Okay, cool. So now we've got this auto-sizing text area. We had to go into remake.js, the framework, a little bit in order to get this working, but now it should be working better in the future. We've got the inline edit area popping up, and all we had to do was add this one data editable attribute and set it equal to text, because that's the key we're editing, and then text multiline, because that's the form field that we want to use for editing it, is a sorry about that, a text area. I just burped a little bit, sorry. So now we want the data to be syncing back into the element. And so this inline edit area by default will sync with the element below it. So if I save this as just like this single line now, it's gonna change the element itself. And if you're curious how that worked, first of all, so Tim says, now the cool thing about TypeScript is that they don't add any extra functionality to JS, they just add the types to the functions. So trying it out should be as easy as changing your file extension to TS instead of JS, and you also don't have to do it for all files at once. You can just try it with a single file. Sorry for the long message. No, that's fine. That sounds cool. So, I mean, if I'm being honest, like, I never really had to deal with types in a language, so I learned, like, JavaScript was pretty much my first language. I mean, I use Python too, but that also doesn't have types. So I never really got used to that. And so I think a lot of programmers are like used to that and like reassured by that, but I'm just not. I'm just like so used to working without types right now. I can't even like imagine like how it's useful, even though I know it is useful. And like a lot of programmers who are more experienced than me have told me it's useful. It's just one of those things that like I have no experience of, so it's kind of hard to like make the switch. But I get what you're saying. Everyone is going on about TypeScript. My Twitter feed is like filled with like TypeScript stuff, so I definitely know that it's like the hotness right now. But if you're curious what caused this data to sync after we edited the data with the inline edit area, the data first synced into this into this key, because that's the key we gave the editable the inline edit popover. So it knew to sync into this key. And then because this key's data was changed, the watch attribute knew to call, to set this property, or to call the function inside of it with the value that's in here, because these two match. So this is the object key, and then this is the watch key. So this is going to watch that text key, and then it's going to set the inner text for this element. So the order is that this data on the top level element is set first, and then this watch key is responsible for setting the inner text on this element. And so that keeps all the data in sync. So now we've got we've got an item on the page that has data in it, and it's also able to be edited with an inline edit area by clicking on it, and we can save it or cancel it. And we can't remove it, but we can save or cancel. And you'll notice too, I just refreshed the page, and our data is actually already saving. And I haven't explained that yet, or how that happens. But basically, there's one other data attribute we haven't gone through yet, which is this data o save deep attribute. And this watches for any changes that are made to the data on the page. And when that data changes, it's gonna trigger this function, this attribute. And this attribute will say, if it's just the save attribute without the deep flag, it's gonna save all of the data on the current element, and then save deep will save all the data on the current page. And by default, Remake comes with this all save function. You can also put in your own save function. So if you want to say like save page, you can name that function and then use that when you initialize Remake.js and just pass in that save function. But it comes by default with this all save function, which just passes all of the data below it, below this element, into an endpoint called save. So it's just at an endpoint called /save in the application. It'll just post all the data on this page to that endpoint. And then in that endpoint, you can just save the data, which is what we're already doing. So I'm surprised actually that this just worked, but I think it did. So I mean, we edited the text, right? We can just add whatever we want, save it, and then if we refresh, we've got the updated data. And if we actually look inside of our data file for John, we can see that we have the updated data. So that's pretty cool, pretty simple to create a working application with just a few data attributes. We have the save attribute. We say it's we say the page has a type of an object, so the overarching data on the page is going to go into an object. And then we have this key for a list of progress updates. And so everything below this element is going to be wrapped in an array. And then we have a few more data keys. We say this is an object, it has a key of text, and we set that to something. And whenever that's updated, we're just going to update the inner text of this element. And also, whenever you click on this element, it's going to be editable. And we're just passing in two things, the key that we want to be editable and how many, and how to edit that, with which type of form field to edit that with. And that's it. That's all it takes to get to the point where you have a working application in Remake.js where you can edit data and you can save data. Now, the next thing I want to go through is how do we remove a progress update? So if we just add this with remove flag on this editable area, then all of a sudden, when we refresh the page, we're going to have a remove button, and we can click that. Now, what happens when we click that remove button? Well, the remove button is going to remove the element that has the data on it that's closest to the element that was triggered. So this is the trigger element, right? So this is the element that's triggering the inline edit area. So this is the one it's going to look to. It's going to say, hey, do you have any data on you? And it's going to say, no, I don't have any data on me. I just have a watch attribute, that's all. So it's going to climb up to the next highest ancestor. And this is part of the reason why it's important to keep data on the highest level possible, because it's going to look towards that element with the data on it to remove it. And so this says, hey, I do have data on it, on myself. I'm an object and I have a key of text. And so it's going to say, oh, this element has data on it. Let's remove this entire element from the DOM, and then let's save the page. So let's copy what we have so far for our data, because this is all going to get erased. Or at least this element is. So let's click the remove button. It's going to remove that element from the page and it's going to save it. If we refresh, we're not going to have an element. And if we go back here, we have an empty array. So let's paste that back in so that we get our element back. Okay, so let's actually change this to our original text. And we'll save that just so we get our data back. And it looks nice. And let's go about being able to edit these tasks. So for editing the tasks, we're going to do something very similar to what we just did of creating a list. So we're just going to attach data O type equals list, and that's going to create a list of tasks. And then each of those tasks needs its own data. So on this top level element of the task, we're going to say data O type equals object, and that's going to create an object for each task. And then we're going to say data O key, and we got to name the key. So I think we can just use text again. And there was a minor problem with reusing the same key name multiple times in a page, but I think I fixed that. And it's just going to look like if you have a watch attribute, the watch attribute is just going to look at the closest key to see if it needs to change. So even if the keys are named the same, the watch attribute is going to only look at the one that it's supposed to be looking at, which is the closest one. So we're going to test that out a little bit, test out that theory, see if it's true. So let's paste that text in there so that we can serialize it. And we also want to see whether this task is done or not, right? We have this flag, this class flag that says this task is complete. I have to get some water because I am like dehydrating over here talking so much. Whew. Okay, I'll mute myself for a second so you don't have to hear me gulping away. Okay, so now we attach data to this element. So if we serialize the entire page, we're going to have an array of progress updates, and then inside of that we have the text of the single progress update. That's weird. So we didn't get the this. Oh, and I know why. So the reason why is because right now, so in this list, it doesn't have a key associated with it, and it's inside of an object. So Remake.js doesn't know how to parse that because you can't just have an array inside of an object. You have to give it like a namespace to be inside of. So in order to do that, we just say data O key, and we'll just say tasks. Okay, so now we should be able to serialize this page correctly. Hey Virgo pros, we're going over Remake.js showing how to build a full application that is a progress update tracker. So we have this object with a key of progress update set to an array, and then each progress update has tasks, and that's an array of objects. And inside of that first object is text set to enable notifications for Twitch using Chatty. And then the main text for the progress update is good day overall. Okay. And I think we still have misspelled recuperate, but that's fine for now. Okay, so let's make this editable. So we're going to have clicking on the text edit the text. So we'll say data I editable, and we want the remove button, so we'll have the with remove flag there. So we have data I editable with remove, and now we need to give it the key that we want to edit. So it's going to be called text, and then we're going to use text single line for this one. And now we should get an inline edit area with the remove button, and that's perfect. Now the next thing we want to do is just replace this with the actual task text. So let's do the loop again that we're doing up here. And we're going to just do that for the tasks. So let's grab that and we'll push that in. We'll push this in. So we're going to say for task in data dot progress update dot task. We're going to do this. We're going to do this entire thing, and then we're going to end it here. So, oops, no, not like that. Percent sign, percent sign, and then I think we do N4, right? That's the thing. Okay, and then we can delete the rest of these tasks because we're going to be able to add our own soon. And we just want this template with the for each for now. Okay, so we do for each task in progress update.task, and then this task, this text is going to be equal to the text inside of the task. So we can do task task.text. It's really hard to say that really fast. Okay, and then we can set the inner text to the same, because remember, remake isn't going to do templating for you, so you have to repeat that there. So you're giving remake.js the starting data, and then you're also giving the user the started data so that they can see it. Okay, cool. So now, I thought we had, I guess, we serialized the data, but we never added the, we never saved it. We never saved the page. So let's just manually add tasks array in here. And then for each task, we'll add an object, and we'll just say text. And we can just paste in some text. And this is just to like bootstrap this application. This isn't something that we would use like long term. Like we're not going to just like, have this data sitting here. Okay, so that's still not working. So progress update. So progress update should have, it's going to have tasks. Okay, I misspelled that. Okay, so maybe that will work now. Great. So yeah, now we've got that working. Whew, geez, this is fun, right? Okay, so so now we've got the progress update task. We can update this task text. So if we say like go to the moon in a spaceship, and we save that, nope, it didn't work. And we didn't even get a console error from it. Huh, that's very weird. Let's refresh. Oh wait, it did save it. It just didn't update it. Oh, it didn't update it because we don't have the watch attribute on it. So we just need to be setting the inner text on this and keeping it in sync. So we'll do data w key, and again, we just name it the same as the key that we want to edit, that we want to watch, and we'll just set the inner text property on this element. Okay, so now we can do like exclamation point, and we got that, and we've got the data saving. And every time it's just serializing the entire page and sending it to the backend, sending all the data to the backend. Guys, I need to take like a minute break. I just need to grab some water because my throat is really killing me. Okay, I'm back. So let's so now we have data saving working, but we can't add progress updates yet. So let's get progress updates adding before we get before this becomes too complicated. So the first thing we can do is just move things into a partial. So the reason we would want to move things into a partial is because Remake.js can automatically render partials for us. So if we move things into a partial, we can just use a single data attribute in order to tell Remake.js to render that partial template and give us the and then insert the rendered partial into the DOM. So let's go in here, and we're going to rename this to-do partial to progress update. And then inside of here, we're going to replace that, although we'll kind of leave it for now. So we're going to replace that, and we're going to grab all of this. So we're going to grab all of this, because that's the entire progress update. And then we need to include the template. So I got to go into my other project real quick just to see how to include something. Okay, so it's super simple. So we'll just include ... partial, and then we'll say progress update. And then index.njk for nunchucks. And then we should have everything we need here, I think. So this should just know how to render, I think. So if we just save that, we refresh, we get the same page. Now in order to get Remake.js to work with this partial, it needs some data for all of this stuff. So it needs to have basically a progress update, like a starting progress update, in order to generate some tasks or the starting text. Now you could just pass in an empty object, and that would be fine, and then it just wouldn't render anything when you created a new progress update. This text would just be empty, and then this text would just be empty. But let's start it out kind of on a good foot. So inside the progress update partial, there's also this data.json file, and that gives us the starting data for this partial. So in here, we're just going to edit that to look like this object. So we're going to do that, and we're going to just wrap this in an object so that we can pass progress update, this progress update key, this object. Okay, so we'll de-indent this. So now you can see this is the exact data that's going to be passed into this partial when it wants to render. And that's the top level data that it's going to be looking for is progress update.text or progress update.tasks. So we need to have a key inside this starting data object that says progress update, and then pass in all of the data that we want this template to have. Hey Block Scopes, we're working on a Remake.js project, which is a framework that I built that makes it really, really easy to build web applications very quickly. Okay, so this is if you want to see the any tutorials or documentation, you can go to remakejs.com. Okay, so now we have the starting data for this progress update. So it should be able to render on its own, and that's just defined in this data file right next to the to the index template. So now we should be able to add a new progress update. And we should be able to do that with this button. So this button, if we add a data new attribute to it, and we pass in the template name that we want to render, and then we pass in a selector that we want to render it into, and we can say, we can put a class on this element that is the list of progress updates, and we'll just say like progress updates, and then we'll just pass in that selector here. So now it's going to render this template with the starting data that we gave it, and then it's going to insert it into the end of this list. I think. I hope. Let's see if it works. So we'll click this, and boom! Now we've got a new progress update. And all we had to do in order to do that is make a separate template for it and pass in like some starting data. And we can like rename this your progress update, and we can say like a task for like the first task. And now if we just like all we did was like change the data, the starting data for this template, and now if we add a new progress update, it's going to add it with that starting data. Awesome. Okay, so we haven't really even done like that much. We haven't even written that many data attributes, and we already have like a fairly good like working application. The other thing we wanted to be able to do though is add tasks. So I've never done this before. I've never added a double nested template, so I think it should work. I don't know any reason why it shouldn't work, but we're going to try it for the first time. So we'll go into our partials folder. We'll just copy this partial that we have so far, and we're just going to rename it to task. And then we'll have this template here, and we're just going to copy the code from the task into here. So we'll replace all this. So now this is our task template. And then let's just include this. So the same way we included the progress update, we'll just include the task template. And then in here, we should have all the data we need. Or yeah, we should be like accessing the data because it's going to pass the context into this into this include. So that's awesome. And then in our data.json file, we just need to have a task with text. So we'll just say task, and we'll have text there. And we'll just say like a new task. Okay, and then let's refresh and click. Oh, we can't click add task yet because we didn't use a new attribute, a data new attribute on this element yet. So all we have to do, very simple, is just say data new in order to tie it all together. And we're just going to say task. So that's the template that we want to render. And then we just need to tell it where to go. So we're going to just say it's going to go into this container right here. So post tasks. And now what it should do is whenever you click this button that says plus task, it should render this template that we just created, fill that template with the data, with the starting data file that we have in the same folder, and insert it into a selector that's matched by the second argument to the data new attribute. And that's as simple as it gets. That's like Super, super simple. Hey, ancient coder, how's it going? So now we can add new tasks. It's going to save and update automatically every time we click that button. And now we can add tasks. So now we can add progress updates. We can remove progress updates. We can add tasks. And that's it. And we built this entire web application with Remake.js in about an hour. I think it only took, I mean, including the design, like including all of the CSS, I think it took us 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I think there's still probably some more work to do, but I can't think about, I don't know what it would be. So if we go back to like the starting level, so this is like if we have no data, and we click plus progress update, okay, so that doesn't work. Maybe we could figure out why that didn't work. Oh no, it did work. Wait, why didn't it work the first time? Let's remove it again. Oh, it did work, okay. Okay, nice, so it did work, and then we can add tasks. Oh, we can't check the tasks off yet, so we need to get that working. That's definitely gonna be a big one. So let's get that working. And this is a little bit, tiny bit complicated. I know that it doesn't seem like it should be, but it might just be a tiny bit complicated. So the way we can do this is when we click on this checkbox container, we're going to set some data. So let's see. Yeah, so with the current version of, the current version of Remake.js is really good at setting data with inline edit areas. Like it'll create the inline edit area for you. But for just like changing a key, I think it's definitely possible and pretty easy, but it's a little bit harder. So let's maybe go in there and just see what we have. So we have this choice event listener. This would be helpful for setting data. And then we have we could use like an inline edit area, but that's definitely not what we want to do. Yeah, I think this choice event listener is what we want. So so I think what we want is probably a checkbox. And we'll just use like a native checkbox. And yeah, let's just try that for now. So we're just going to add this this checkbox, and we're going to style it later. But we'll just say input type checkbox. I think it's checkbox, right? Type checkbox. Yeah. Okay. And then the value. The value, I don't know what it's going to be yet. And the name is going to be like is complete, I guess. Yeah, we can say is complete. And then the data key that we're going to set up here with the is complete flag is going to be data key. So the key is going to be is and then complete. So this this name is automatically matched to any data attributes above it, and it just takes the camel case, converts it to dash case, and matches, and that's how it matches. So we're going to say is complete, and it's going to start out default to nothing, but we're going to have that in our template. So we're going to say is complete, and then inside of the template, the starting data is going to have is complete equal to nothing. So inside of our template, we're going to go into partials, and then we're going to go into task, and we're going to say valid JSON with the double quotes is complete, and we're going to set it to an empty string. Okay, so so now when we create a new task, it's not complete by default. This is going to be good. We can just say true. We can just say true for the value. So that's the value that it's going to set up there. And let's see if this works, how it should. So we have a check mark behind there. Let's just add like a couple BRs. This is temporary, it's just so we can see it. Oh man, that still didn't work. Let's just, I just want to be able to see it just so I can see if it works. So we're gonna do like position, relative. This is like super hacky. Minus 20px. Okay, so now we've got this check mark out there. Let's inspect it, and let's see if it's going to be able to set the incomplete, the is complete key equal to true when we check it. Oh, it doesn't have a data I attribute on it. So the data I attribute is what tells it to work. So that's what tells it to set the value on the closest data attribute to. So we'll redo that and click this, and now it's going to say is complete equals true. And if we check the next one, wait, where's this one? So if we check the next one, it's going to set it to true too. So now you can see if this data attribute is set to like true or pretty much anything, it's going to be considered true. But if it's set to an empty string, then it's considered false. So we're going to actually replace this class where we say task complete. We're going to replace that with a data attribute selector because that's how we're modifying the data. So let's go into our CSS. I'm going to go into main. I'm going to look for complete. And we're going to just say, hey, if this data attribute is set to an empty string, well, that's going to mean it's off, right? So what we want instead is to select a post task that has not this. So this is a little bit complicated. We're going to say not, and then it doesn't have this attribute set to an empty string, and then it's going to know that it's on. So if it's not an empty string, then it's on. That means we display it inline. That means it's complete. Okay. So there we go. Now we've got the check marks matching. Okay, so that's cool. Now the next thing we need to do is style this check mark. So I think the best way to do this is to put this input inside of well, no, it's fine where it is. And we'll just make this a label. So if we wrap an input with a label, then whenever we click the label, it's going to trigger the input. And I want to say valid div inside label. So no, HTML does not allow a label to contain a div. So we're just going to change this to a span. That's just good to be, I don't know, exact or whatever. It's probably not that important. It's probably like would render it anyways. So container and then checkbox. So I don't think that's going to affect anything as far as the styling of that goes. Okay, so now we have that in a label. Now custom checkbox CSS. And let's look at, I don't know. I'd prefer like a CSS tricks article. I don't know, this looks decent, I guess. No, I don't want like a library. I just want like a really simple way of doing it. Maybe let's check this one, which is usually pretty bad. Yeah, no. W3 school. Okay, let's check this. So he says put this inside of that and then have the label, and then we're gonna hide the checkbox because we need to hide it. So there are several ways to hide it. This covers it. And then it says opacity 0. So now I'm talking like a robot. That's great. I actually have to go soon because I've been streaming for a long time. But let's get this checkbox working first. So inside the checkbox container, we have an input of type checkbox. So we have the checkbox container here, and we're just gonna style input type checkbox, and we're gonna do opacity 0. And I think that should work now. So now we should have our custom checkbox style. And let's definitely put a pointer cursor on this. Wow, I just got an alert from Netflix that said, coming soon, 48 new titles. Do they really have 48 new shows? That's insane. Okay, so now when I click this label, it should trigger the checkbox, which should update the data, which should in turn show the checkbox. Boom, nice. Okay, so it's kind of working. The checkbox is showing up below where it should be. So I think what I want to do is just position this absolutely. Okay. So now it shouldn't affect the flow, and now that's working. Okay, so now if I check one and uncheck the other one, okay, so there's one other thing, which is that I need to trigger save whenever that's clicked. So let's look inside of remake.js. Well, actually, we can go into the documentation. So let's go to the remake.js documentation and just look up our quick reference of all attributes and say, I think it's called click to save. Did I save? Oh, I didn't document so that's, I should definitely add that. Okay, what is this one? Yeah, I think it's this one. Okay, so I should add this to the documentation. I think it's click to save. Okay, so let's look up what it's really called. Remake.js save event listeners. No, there it is, click to save. Okay, so whenever we click this, it's just going to trigger a save on the same element. So we need to add that in order to have this save afterwards. And let's just make sure there's nothing else required here. It's going to get that. Okay, so it needs the attribute set to closest, just so that it knows which save function to call. Probably not necessary. It could just default to that, but that's fine for now. Okay, so now if we click that, it should have set it. If we refresh, it's not there. So let's look at our data for John. If we look here, we've got is complete equal to true. And if we look on here, is it equal to true? So let's see. Is complete. So the first one, um, isn't set to true, even though in the data it is set to true. Oh, and it's probably because I'm not I'm not getting the data from the right place. So see, I'm just saying is complete, but it should be task dot is complete. Okay, awesome. So now it's working. So now you can edit this, you can check it off. It'll save automatically. If I click multiple of these, it'll save. I can create new tasks. I can remove tasks. I can edit tasks. I can create progress updates. It should like show some kind of notification, you know, when you do create a new progress update, and probably like scroll you down to the bottom. But we created this entire web application that allows you to remove data on a page, add data to a page, add tasks, say that the tasks are complete or not. And we did it all within a couple hours, including styling the application. I think it took 2.5 hours total, maybe 3. Um, and so we built pretty much an entire application, and each user is going to have their own data. So if we go to like Meredith, and then we add a progress update, and we say like this is Meredith's progress update, then this is different than like everything else. And you can see that there was just a bug there. So like when I saved this, it triggered this, and that's because that bug that I was mentioning earlier that might still be there. It looks like it is. So, oh, you know what? Let's search for same here. So how? Oh, okay. So yeah, this is coming out of the brainstorm area and into the top priorities. So yeah, I guess I thought I implemented that, but I didn't implement that. So this is, yeah, this is not the perfect example that I thought it was. But if we just change the key name of the text, so if we just say it's like, so this, we're in the progress update. If we go to the task, and we just say like task text, and then we just change this one too. And then we just have to change these two here. And we just say task text. So now it should work as we expect it. So let's just go to our data. We'll open up John's, and we'll say task text instead, and then we'll go to John. So now we've got all the things there, and we'll just overwrite Jamie's and Meredith's data just so we can get it working. Okay, so now if I go to Meredith and I say Meredith's progress update, and I save this, we can see that that data is different than John's data is different than Jamie's data. And I'm definitely going to make it so that you can have more than one key on the page, as long as it's in a different object that has the same name as another key. But for right now, you can just name them different things. So yeah, we built an entire web application with a custom design that you can add progress updates, you can add tasks to each progress update, you can remove progress updates, you can remove individual tasks, you can mark each task as complete or not. We built that in like an afternoon and 3 hours, and that's what Remake.js allows you to do, is create an application, a full application with multiple user accounts. The user accounts aren't fully implemented yet. As I said before, these are just implemented in a very loose way, just using cookies. But there's nothing stopping you from making this work with actual user accounts, and the final version of Remake.js will have user accounts built in. It's really not that hard. It probably won't be this easy to switch between them though, but who knows? And then you get everything out of the box. You get rendering templates, you get creating new items, you get editing data, removing data, deleting data, saving data, all for free just by attaching a few data attributes to the page and to your elements. And yeah, that's my sales pitch for Remake. That's yeah. So so you'll notice that when I created a new task there, and if I create a new progress update, it's not going to have the task text, and that's because we didn't rename our starting data to task text when we changed that. So now if we do it, we can do it. But now we can't actually click on our task text in order to remove the task. But that's a problem for another day. Yeah. Okay. So what we could do to solve that is just like add a default text. That's something else that Remake supports, so that you would never run into the situation where you would have an empty text element. Either that, or we could add like a min width to this text, or we could just add like an edit button so that you could, always, that edit button would always be visible. Okay, but anyways, that's all I've got for today. I really have to go. I've been streaming for close to four hours. Yeah, close to 4 hours. I'm really tired. My brain feels a little bit melty. I really, really appreciate everyone who stopped by. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for having conversations. Thank you for all the people that mentioned that I should use TypeScript. I do believe you. I do think it's probably the right way to go. It's probably a great technology, but it's hard to learn new things. So yeah, I'll experiment with it sometime in the next month or two, maybe on the stream. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. Please keep an eye out for Remake.js. It is the simplest, easiest way to create a web application, a custom web application with a custom design using just data attributes. You can get everything for free. It's amazing. So if you have any questions about it, let me know. I'm Panfora on Twitter. I stream Thursdays and Fridays from 11 a.m. to about this time. So about 11 to 2, 11 to 3 p.m. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Thank you.